All right.
So yeah, I did have a yellow Running Public shirt. I wore it a lot, dude. It was brown by the time I had to throw it away.
I don't know why it's brown. Kirk and I have had ours for 2 years.
Listen, it goes to the cutoff stage, right? You just get rid of the pit area, then it's back to new.
I put in work. That's why.
I lifted in my black cutoff yesterday.
Do those shirts like so? In terms of fabrics, with these like blended fabrics, that's not cotton, it has like a polyester or whatever, and like the synthetic materials. Mm-hmm. So I learned this as a tech rep. It's hydrophobic, right? So it doesn't want water, so it dries quicker, but it's oilphilic, so it likes oil and it grabs onto it. So a lot of times these type of materials will stink pretty bad after using them, and then they don't smell better after you wash them because you'll use some sort of like oil-based scent in the detergent, or even like the fabric softener, like the dryer sheet. So like you're probably better off washing them with a white vinegar or one of those sports washes that doesn't have like a scent to it. But those shirts in particular, the ones that are like what like Next Level or whatever, just like the shirts that you print shit on, those smell real bad for me.
Are you talking about our shirts or other shirts?
Well, I mean, like it's not a proprietary. You didn't create the blend of the shirt.
Yeah, how do you know?
I have a loom.
He has deep Southern heritage, Rich. Do you not know about this?
I suppose I shouldn't assume.
You ever seen the movie Wanted?
Is it the one where they're curving bullets?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen them. Wanted.
Well, I have a very similar loom setup to the movie Wanted.
I don't know it well enough to recall the loom scene.
I just feel like you need a loom guy.
I think they shot 10 dudes with one bullet at the end, like in a circle.
Yeah.
Feasible.
Pretty cool. So make sure you're getting your Running Public shirts. I gotta get.
Wait. Hold on. You can't say our shirts stink and then tell people to get them because they don't. I don't stink in my shirt.
Error. Rich smells when he works hard. That's fine. That's hard work.
My shirts stink. That happened to be the brand that shirts that you use.
I think he got his on Alibaba. Some knockoff.
No, I sold him a generic version. Yeah, there's 2 tiers to our shirt buying, and the people I like get the real deal, and the people I don't get the generic version.
The shirts that I print stuff off of are basically the same brand. I think
Canvas is the brand of these.
Yeah, and there's like Canvas, there's like the Bella something or other, like Next Level. There's just like the cotton, the tri blend, right? Is it a poly cotton or is it a tri?
I don't know, but they're soft and they smell like roses.
They feel great.
I think Kirk like spits in his perfume on it before he ships them out. I've refused to wash any of mine. I sleep with them.
Just gives it a little spritz on the way out.
Kirk lays them down in bed and sleeps with them for a week and then sends them out. It's a real nice touch.
Talk about pheromones. You will grow facial hair instantly.
So we have a couple
women. Be careful. All right.
Yeah, you got it. The dosage is important. Mm-hmm. So we have a couple things to talk about, but one thing I wanted to talk about first, I was thinking about this, and I think it's kind of important that we dive into. So, and I didn't prep you guys on this at all, but I want you guys to we just want to talk about it to see what we can come up with on the fly. So if you had to choose one person in OCR, like anyone at all, like athletes, personalities, organizers, whatever, who would you choose to fight? Kirk, you're first.
Fight?
Well, wait, what is the goal of this fight for me?
It could be to win. It could be to lose. It could be just to have a good scrap, whatever.
Like because you want to punch someone in the face, or because you think it'd make a good fight?
Because it depends on you. What would you want?
Chris Rogowski. I want to take her down a peg.
You want to lose in a fight?
She needs to be taken down a peg. All right, you can't just show up everywhere and be good at everything.
Why do you think you're going to win?
That's what I said. He's losing that one.
I kind of want to slap Aaron Newell around a little bit. And not because I don't like the guy necessarily, but more because I feel like it would be mildly at least entertaining. And there'd be smiles at the end, regardless as to how it works out. But I still feel like he needs to be smacked a little bit.
I think he'd scrap, though. Yeah, I think.
Well, I'm not saying he wouldn't. I'm not saying he's not a worthy.
Does he have a bucket in his hand?
Aaron Newell has the widest shoulders in the sport. Has anybody noticed that? Like he's got something to work with.
He's got that tapered ratio. What is it? The shoulder to waist ratio.
Mm-hmm.
Big wide shoulders.
Triangle.
It does.
Why? Who do you want to fight? Is it one of us?
I mean, all of you collectively. Yeah.
This morning, Jack.
Every day, Jack. So definitely Jack. Oh yeah, Jack's not here.
Jack sends a message because I was on vacation last week, and then you guys did this spring up episode, which I'm not taking credit for missing because that was impossible for me to make. But the vacation episode totally on my back. And he said, I feel like Kirk's breaking up with us like a little puppy dog. And then Jack says, my Xfinity is out. I can't make the recording. That's like my dog ate my homework. I have a flat tire. My Xfinity is out. What's really going on, Jack? Screw off.
He messaged us on the internet. It's like, internet's out. Can't make it today. Like, oh, geez. It's not there. So I'm fighting Jack. If that would be regardless of an OCR person or not. That's just a person who I'm fighting.
I like that call.
Where did this stem from?
Yeah, where did this stem from?
There's something you want to get out.
No, I think I was just thinking about fighting Jack, and that was it.
Okay.
Who would you be the most afraid in the sport to fight because you feel like you could get a beating?
So, I mean, anyone with a military background, right? Like if you look at a Mark Gaudette and you're like, yeah, I'd size that guy up. He's like about the same size, maybe a little skinnier. I think it'd be a good scrap, but he'd probably, do that move at the end of, what's the movie with Roundhouse or no, the 80s movie?
Roadhouse.
he probably has that move at the end of that or at the end of Kill Bill. Or the Kill Bill one where just like the heart stops. So any of the military guys, I don't think I'd really want to go down that route.
Smart.
I don't think anyone in the pro division would be worrisome to most people. It'd be the open waivers who have, jiu-jitsu background or have a black belt in something that you don't know about. But the pro wave, I don't know. I guess you'd have to, out of the pro wave of endurance athletes, I don't think any of them have fight training. So you just have to take the biggest and strongest ones to be afraid of. You probably wouldn't want to fight Hunter or
that's what
Isaiah.
I was thinking.
You know who I think's sneaky? Ryan Kempson. I think you'd have yourself a problem with him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Like a farmyard cat.
Oh, yeah.
He survived some things.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, I bet he'd take it to different levels. It would start with punch and then it would be like some eye gouging. It'd be some he'd win.
We had a fight outside our house the other day.
Did you win?
I didn't take part.
Oh.
I was out. I was on my way across the street to play neighborhood peacekeeper when 7 police SUVs came roaring around from each side and came in, and I just kind of backed right up and made sure I was part of the wallpaper.
You went out there to break it up?
It was really loud. It was Sunday afternoon in the middle of the day.
Was it a group or was it 2 people?
Yeah, 3 people.
Oh, wow. That's not fun.
Nah.
The people's champ. You could have been the people's champ, Bracken.
Or a body bag. You never know. You don't know these days, Kirk.
No.
You can be both.
Best case scenario was I got to take the manly approach of going out to intercede and not have to do anything.
Not in that periwinkle blue shirt. Wouldn't have been a good choice.
I was in a Hyrox shirt. It said I was a seasoned champ, so they would have known.
So they would have known for sure. Yeah, that's best. That's a best case scenario. Going out there is I really don't want to fight these or get hurt here, but I don't want to look like a wuss. So I'm gonna go and act like I'm gonna do something and not having to do anything. That's great.
Right in the sweet spot.
Nice job. Executed well. Did you guys watch the Trifecta?
No. I was watching other stuff.
You want to know the biggest shock about the Trifecta weekend for me was that Hobie Call and Cody Moat were flown out there to have some induction. I can't believe they went out there and did that. That was my biggest shocker of the weekend. Seeing them in suits in Greece for an induction, shocking. We can't get Cody Moat on a podcast because we can't get him to respond to an email or take 30 minutes because he's busy.
He responded last time. Did you know that?
Oh, no.
He said, honestly, I haven't competed in 2 years. I don't have any plans of ever doing it again. I just don't know what we'd even talk about. I don't think we should. I said, we'll figure something out. He said, I don't really think so. I'm like, all right, Cody, you've earned that, right?
He said, guys, I'm really trying to be polite here, but I don't like talking to you.
Yeah.
And I don't want to spend any time with you.
By the way, Rich, also, I got a bone to pick with you, Matt B. Davis, and Lindsay Webster. I messaged Lindsay Webster 2 weeks ago and said, Lindsay, we'd love to have you on the podcast, talk about the season and all of this. We haven't interviewed her in 2 years. She said, I'm sorry, I'm really busy right now. Could you reach back out in a few weeks? and then I see an episode with reinforced running with Lindsay Webster pop up and Matt B. Davis, and she rejected me. I can't help but be a little hurt.
I mean, you don't always get feedback directly. Sometimes it's like indirect feedback that you have to kind of take in.
Okay, tell me what it is. Yeah.
No, I think Lindsay told you what it was. She just doesn't want to talk to you guys on the show.
It's a hard gig. Thank God my self-esteem is through the roof to start with. Because...
yeah, if we were starting at a low pig, we'd be on the floor already.
We would.
It took a while to get Lindsay. That wasn't like a message on a Monday, record on a Wednesday situation. That was like,
that's what I tried.
It probably was like it probably took about a month to get.
I sent her a message, a shoe question, and it was a week before it was seen. So I think she's just her secretary's taking some days off.
She has a part-time job now. So she started working a little bit, and on top of like all the other sponsorship stuff. Yeah, I was actually surprised she did say yes, because it's very generous with the time. Because I'm sure she doesn't have much of it, and people are probably asking a lot of her, like the running public.
Terrible.
So no, I didn't watch the Trifecta Championships. I watched all the highlights, but I was watching New York City Marathon. Richard,
you watched it all the way through? Was that on Peacock?
They had it on, no, it was on ESPN3. It was also on a local news station there. And then they had a New York Marathon app, which had a dedicated stream for just the pro men and then one for just the pro women. No audio, no commentary. You could just have it up.
Oh,
that's two screens up. I had the pro men and the pro women just sitting on a laptop and a tablet in front of me. And then up on the TV, I had the TV coverage with commentary. So anytime they broke away and did a human interest story or did commercials, and I just looked down and watched the lead pack.
I was
really geeking out.
You were locked in.
What I'm learning is Bracken doesn't care about people.
No.
Human interest? I
didn't know that about me yet. I have no use for people.
What kind of takeaways did you have from that? I saw Nell. Was Nell in that front pack, and did she fade? She got beat by 3 or 4 Americans, I think, right?
I thought she was the third American, maybe second.
It was definitely Alfina, right?
Oh yeah, Tulimek was our first.
She was the first, and I thought it was Emma Bates.
Bates was second, and then I thought she was third.
Yeah.
It's a display of how thirsty and hungry our sport is for new fast blood, because Nell Rojas runs 2 Spartan races 3 years ago, and she's now one of us, and we root for her like she's our girl. Like, no, she ran 2 Spartan races in 2018.
She ran a couple Tough Mudders too. I think she was on the podium at the Tough Mudder World Championship.
I just think it's hilarious and I feel the same way. I'm not saying I'm excluded from this.
So that was the main person I was following, because her time wasn't as strong. Did you get any follow-up? Did you see anything? And she had some cool videos on...
She was like 28, 29, wasn't she? Or no?
Yeah, but I mean...
What's her PR, 26?
Yeah.
New York's Haley?
New York's slow.
Yeah, I mean, the men's course record is 205. So, I mean, it's what's Boston's course record? 202?
Yeah, that wind-dated one, right?
Yeah, and people can run quick there. New York's just not a fast marathon. So to be within 2 minutes of her PR, I thought that was real solid.
Okay.
Still top 10 at a major marathon, third American.
She signed with Nike. She's not like some under the radar runner anymore.
No, she was. Didn't take long.
Till she showed up at Spartan race.
Yep. Till she got on that podium at Tough Mudder, people started noticing.
That's right.
Like, wow, let's Nike comes knocking.
Did you guys watch the marathon?
I didn't.
Okay.
I did not.
Well, did you watch Tokyo, the Olympic marathon?
I didn't. I actually did not.
Okay. Well, it was interesting. There was this Brazilian marathoner who sat down twice during it and kept getting up and just getting right back to like 450 pace, 440 pace. He looked so good. And then he'd crumble, stop. And then I just kept thinking, when he starts back up from sitting on the ground, working out a cramp in the marathon, he looks better when he gets back up and runs than I can possibly try to look. He would just set me out fresh at 5K pace. So it was, and eventually he was like weaving and dehydrated and dropped out of the race. He led New York City. He got 2 minutes and 12 seconds ahead by the halfway point. And he was like a minute 40 ahead by 15K. He was out. And eventually, I had like a minute 40 lead, veered over to a porta-john, got out in under 20 seconds, and then started bleeding time, started doing that thing, stopped for a second, started running again, and then stopped, laid down on the ground, and then the whole field went past him. It was 5 miles from the finish.
Is there feedback there as well? Like, hey man, you're probably going out a little too fast. Or is that just like or do we respect something like that? This guy's going for it. It is a crazy race to go for it in any type of capacity. How long this thing is going to be? Are you still like, this guy's just going to go to the point where he knows it's too much and he's just going to see if he can hang on. And then his body's actually like, because mentally he's probably getting screamed at to slow down internally for miles before he literally has to like sit down. So shout out to that guy.
I admire it one time. You know, but if history starts to repeat itself, then you start wondering where's IQ's at. You know,
it was interesting because typically I would say you get to the front of a major marathon. You've never been in the front of a major marathon, and it's lined the whole way. New York City is lined. There's people the entire way. You've got a lead trio of vehicles. You've got people all around, cameras, helicopters. You might not feel anything for 10 or 15 miles. You add super shoes into the mix and the thrill of leading a major race and a helicopter above you, you might not feel 10 or 15 miles, and then it's too late. But his coach pulled up behind him on a bike and then got next to him, and you could see his coach yelling at him. And twice he went like this and shushed his coach away. And then eventually someone else, a race official, biked up on his bike next to him and said something to the coach, and the coach dropped back. It was weird.
He didn't finish at all then, did he? Was it a DNF?
Yeah. There were medical personnel all around him, and he was taken to the hospital.
A lot of times these East African runners, I know the athlete you're talking about, you said Brazil. But Kenyans in particular, they'll kind of go to the point of absolutely blowing up over and over as well. It's just kind of how they race. Like, we're here, we're going to put it out as hard as possible. And we don't see that as much from US based athletes, do you think?
Nope.
It's the reason we consistently lead our nation on in terms of how good we're going to be at the marathon on the men's side is because they will sit back and run an intelligent race and then sneak into the top 10. We had someone, Fauble, I think, moved up into the top 10, and he wasn't, and suddenly he's top 10 because a lot of these nations run to win, and if they can't win, they drop out. They're just running the race that is required to win right up until the moment they can't anymore. And then we'll run like a 2:10 or a 2:12 and sneak in and be like, top American, top 10, it's awesome. And then that's their lifetime PR. Like, they'll run the perfect race, but they don't go for it. Not all of us. CJ Albertson goes for it. There's people that go for it, but we're always sneaking into the extended podium, but you may not even see us for the first 25 miles.
And that seems so, and I think that's right. Like when Des Linden was running so well, that was like almost her blueprint, like not to be there and then really, really bring it up. And then at the end be like, oh, wow, she ran this amazing race where she really wasn't in the race per se for a lot of it. It's kind of the opposite of OCR, right? People just go out and see what happens in this thing.
Where did Rupp end up?
I didn't even see his finish. I thought he dropped out. He went with the pack, the chase pack that went after this guy, and he was instrumental in the cut down. One guy took out, I forgot who it was, started chipping down, and then Rupp took the lead at one point on a downhill. He seems to be a pretty good downhill runner. And he pushed and put a little gap on the pack, and then within a half mile or less, they were right up on him. And then about, I don't know, mile or two later, he was gone.
Good, he stuck his nose in there.
Yeah, he's the exception. He runs every race to win, and he even had his quote beforehand. He's been known for saying this, that I'd rather win in 2:08 or whatever it was than run 2:05 and take fifth. Or it wasn't the exact quote, but he's just there to win, and he's going to go after the win no matter what.
And his results have been like, where do you think he would rank in terms of like all-time U.S. distance runners, like top
U.S. born distance runners? I think he's one.
Yeah, I was gonna say top 3. Right?
I can't think of a man with a better resume than him in terms of distance. I'll say 5K and beyond. You'd say Bernard Lagat, but he's American, but he wasn't American born. So if you do American born, it's Rupp. If it's not, I think Lagat's the best ever in the US.
And does Lagat have Olympic golds though?
Silver, I believe. He's run what 326. He's second fastest 1500 all time.
But when he was a Kenyan citizen, right. So it's weird. But Frank Shorter, he's an Olympic gold medalist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we have a couple other gold medalists.
Yeah, we have plenty of gold medalists, but in terms of multiple Olympics medals in different events, and then number of national titles and a decade and a half straight of dominance and national records, I would say Rupp's the best. You could be argued, but for 5K and longer, I'd say Rupp.
He was coming up. I think he is the same high school graduating year as I am. So he was coming up like when we were coming up, and you guys were in college when he was also around that age as well. I have a buddy who was every time, like, he just didn't like, he's not necessarily likable. Are you guys like fans of his persona, like the whole deal of Galen Rupp?
When I listen to him interview, he's just like a nerd. And I kind of like that. He's got snot on part of his face usually, and I just like the messy. Yeah, I kind of like. But yeah, it's an interesting vibe he puts out. But he's kind of a dork. Yeah,
I say that in a positive way.
It's like a little cocky though. It's like a cocky dork.
I do not like the Salazar and all the Nike stuff, but him in a vacuum, he's a pleasant dork. I like that.
I generally root for him, but I think when he was coming up and everybody's like, this guy's the next big thing, I think he was a little bit more polarizing. Then you could pick a side. I had one buddy who was like, that dude's overrated. He's never going to amount to anything. And then every race that he would pop off, you just got to send him a text message. Be like, I don't know what to tell you, man. You missed the boat on this one.
Dude, Dathan Ritzenheinen now in Webb forever.
Dathan was kind of a disappointment, though. You know,
he made the Olympic team in the marathon and the 10K.
He did a lot. He just couldn't stay healthy.
Yeah, and he never had a breakthrough he made teams, but he didn't do anything with it.
He was poised, what we thought he was going to be.
Yeah. At one point, Rupp held the indoor mile record and the outdoor 10K record at the same time.
That's wild.
He ran 350 indoor alone, and then he ran his, 26? I don't know what it was, 44 or 46. I'm going to be off on that time, but that range we haven't seen ever. I think he still has the 10K. He doesn't have the indoor mile anymore.
So switching to like the Greece race. Have you guys seen the Gregory Basilico run? Have you seen races with him?
Yeah. I last time I said, did you guys watch OCR or the Spartan Euro Championships? These guys are fast.
He is really fast.
Well, he's 224 marathoner, 222.
Oh, is that right? He kind of looks like
222.
Yeah, but he can run that. He can run on trails. He can run through slop.
He's very good.
I think Rylan, just because we're talking about we're U.S. centric here, which
damn
is
right
self-consumed. Yeah, is if I don't know what the execution was on the other gentleman, but it sounds like if Rylan he had mistakes every day. I believe he missed a spear 2 races in a row, which I feel for you. He said he did a set of burpees as well in a race. Like I think, and he was only 2 or 3 minutes down from the lead going into the last day. And he fell apart, I think, on the last day or had some more cramping or some crap, which is his MO now a little bit. But I think he was good enough to win if he cleaned it up. Right. Which is comforting, but it also like knowing, okay, the host of athletes we have over here in the US is legit. We know that, but like every time we go international, every single time there's chinks put in our armor as like a community as a whole. Our best go over and our best don't win. I mean, it always says something, I think. And I was rooting for Rylan, of course. I wanted him to win more probably than anybody, but I do like seeing the international contingency kind of take it to us once in a while. And I don't know. I mean, I love America. I love living in America, but I still kind of like seeing it. I don't know why. Why is that? Maybe it's something in my psyche. I don't understand, but
maybe because it wasn't you racing. If it was you racing, it'd be like, I don't really like it when we get it taken to us here. But other people,
maybe
that's okay.
Maybe
he was really, really impressive. So that last day, the coverage of it. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know where. I think you just type in Trifecta into YouTube or whatever. Jack sent us the link eventually, but he
really dropped the ball this past week.
Jack is this past week. Now we're just coming to the surface.
At least I gave you a heads up. That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. So the coverage for the Sunday race was awesome. It was really, really strong. It was Leon, and I don't know the female commentator. They're like sitting behind a desk, and like there was a backdrop. It looked really good, and it seemed like they were watching it together live, and it was like they were like nailing it, and the coverage came through really clear. Before the race, they showed like what happened a little bit on Friday, what happened a little bit on Saturday, and you kind of knew what was going on. But the conditions, it was pouring, like drenching rain. That like I've run a couple races, like when we ran Seattle Kirk, it was raining, but it didn't feel like it was pouring. Right? It was like
freezing cold and raining.
It was cold.
A tough combo, yeah.
It was like Pacific Northwest kind of rain, though, like kind of spitting at you. And like I've run a race in New Jersey where it was kind of the same, but this was like looked like what it would be like a rain in the summertime, like heavy rain, no relenting of it, and it seemed cold as well. People were kind of bundled up, so everybody was making mistakes on Sunday. It was laughable. They had a finishing rig that was, I think, like a pipe to rings to ropes to monkey bars to a pipe to rings. I think it was a long rig to finish. Every single female athlete in the top 5 that we saw missed. And I think only 2 male athletes in the top 5 got through. And I could be wrong. Maybe just one, maybe just Richard Hynek. So it was like burpees were definitely a thing. They had 2 spear throws that were a problem. I think Ryland missed one of those. There was a balance beam that Ryland fell off. It was so slippery. It was like a skinny. They had I think they had 3 balance beams, 2 balance beams and a slack line. And so like the one that Ryland missed, they did catch on video. He like stepped up and just slipped off and just had to then do a short penalty loop with a chain carry. So like mistakes were being made all over the place. I think the spears that he missed on the first 2,
he stuck.
Is that what happened?
I saw one for sure. He hit it and it fell out.
Yeah,
it hit it, came down, rocked, and then came out.
That's frustrating.
You gotta bury it in those.
I think other than the Hobie and Cody showing up, which was the big shocker of the weekend. My takeaway is this event's stock went up for me in my eyes. It actually was like, I might want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it showed very well. It's like kind of a cool event, like a cool event worth traveling for an experience. I was like, I could get behind taking a vacation to go do this. And then you saw the contingency, like a few big names from the US chose to travel over, some big names from other places, making this kind of feeling like a legit championship event to go show up. There was at least a host of worthy adversaries on both sides. Stock went up for me, for sure.
I had some FOMO. I haven't had FOMO around OCR.
Isn't that weird?
Like since I started doing OCR.
Stage racing, like I like the idea of that in our sport. It aligns very well with the trail world. And so seeing stage racing like that and the way they actually let us do that, they could do that very easily on Trifecta weekends in the US and reverse the order of the events. And people would come in droves. Heck, I would probably do that. Bigger prize, bigger championship. Maybe there's 5 stage races throughout the year in Spartan, go sprint, super, beast, maybe in 2 days instead of 3. Like, sign me up. That would excite me. Just saying.
Every year I watch it, I think someday I need to do this.
Yeah.
The European men have taken it seriously and the United States men have not. And it shows.
Is that a travel thing or is it just, yeah. I mean, if it was, like Killington Trifecta weekend or something like that, we'd probably have a better showing. But yeah, we only had 1 male athlete really, and 2 females with Rose and Chris.
Mm-hmm.
And Alyssa. Wasn't Alyssa there?
Alyssa? No, she did Hyrox.
Ollie? Oh.
Yeah, she was Hyrox.
I just think we feel like we have everything we need here. Like we have the competition here. We have the events here. So why would we go over there?
It's a rugged looking course.
But I think it's silly. That's a silly frame of mind. Yeah.
And if it's going to be an international world championship too, and if the world championship is going to be after a Trifecta world championship, which is after all the other world championships, like how many, like it's your thinker. How many world championships? How many do we need?
But what I believe is that it should be more of a spotlight event and it should be the culmination of the year. I think that should be the end of the year and we should host the Okras live there, probably. But OCR or the Spartan World Championship should be at least a month. I'd say a month prior. You build up all your fitness for this big World Championship. It's less this year. It's a super. Next year, it's going to be a third of the distance. And then you culminate in the Trifecta World Championship.
I like
it should be a celebration to cap it off. You should have no reason not to go, rather than, does this really make sense if I'm coming back over to Abu Dhabi in a month? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if they gamified it a little bit even more, like made it a team score stage race or something like that, or even how Golden Trail does, break it out by countries, and then put a team together so that it's well attended.
I think the Spartan team championship should not happen in Abu Dhabi. It should happen at Trifecta Championships. Cross country scoring over 3 days.
Cross country style scoring. It's right there. Why do they keep trying to do these like team races and relay races? Just do it fucking cross country style. It's fine. It works.
Bracken, I remember the day you were on the council for putting together sponsored niche teams within the U.S. National Series. So it'd be like Team Yokohama is Kirk, Rich, and Bracken, and then we would be a sponsored team within. And then that was in the talks. All that you guys were talking about that for years, having meetings, putting together teams within to give us things to root for and sponsorship money to be made. Why did that never take off?
Because that was Joe DI's. That was Magida, Amelia, Joe DI, and myself.
When Joe DI left,
and Kobo was involved, and that died with when DI saw his writing on the wall. He stopped pushing the project, and then it just crumbled. And the next year, he was out.
They were talking about a draft situation and teams for this 3K Spartan Cross format.
Really?
I don't know how exactly that would work in this first year, but I thought they had mentioned that at least when they were teasing Spartan Cross before they made the official announcement. Is the European the race series that they have over there? They're generally, are they by countries or are they by regions? Is there like a European elite series, or is it like the Spanish national series or something?
Yeah, they have national series.
They do. Are those going to stay the same as far as we know? And they're just changing.
I assume
ours?
It's global.
Oh, you think so?
I mean, if it's not, it doesn't help the push for the Olympics. It has to be global. There's a minimum number of countries required to participate under the standards of the rules. That's why they moved to regional champions in the first place, because you have to have regional championships in order to satisfy the IOC rules.
No, I was gone on vacation, so I was so checked out. I have not kept up. I've only seen a few things on social media, but fill me in here. And I know you guys talked about this while I was gone, but so all Spartan races are happening like normal, sans burpees, other than the national series or the elite series. And it's a Friday evening event where it is a 3K but nothing else changes as far as we know, except for the elite series option. Is that correct?
Correct.
Nothing else changes. Now, is this 3K?
Prize money will drop out of most elite races, it seems, outside of a handful of targeted races.
Okay, and then the 3K format is only for elite series races, or it's not going to be or pro series. It's not going to be to start off the Killington race weekend. You're going to have it. It's only for these. So we're just pigeonholing ourselves further into these very select events that isn't even representative of what the Spartan masses are doing. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, age group does not even have the option.
False advertisement of sorts, correct? Or a false representation of the sport as most know it. Like I'm not misunderstanding, right?
No.
Okay.
It created a new version and made it the standard.
Stupid.
We're going, man. You better get some ninja stuff going on, because we're going to the first race wherever it is, Kirk.
That 1 minute.
Is that what you guys decided?
That 1 minute clip you just did summed up our entire episode. We could have just put that out. Wait, so you're telling me this, and this? Oh, yeah, that's dumb.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that does.
You missed one important part. I just want to see your initial reaction, which is 1K prelim, 1K semifinal, 3K final. 45 people down to 30, down to 15.
What's the spacing? That's a weird follow-up question, but morning, afternoon, evening?
Everything's in the afternoon, evening, as far as we know. And the word on the street is
okay.
Heats are apart.
Are what?
2 minutes apart. So
going to be some traffic jams. So it's the exact same course once, and then you go to the exact same course for 3 laps in the final.
Once, and then 3.
So we're talking like 5 to 8 minute event, 5 to 8 minute event, 15 to 25 minute event.
20 to 25, yeah.
20 to 25 minute event.
Yeah.
The only way this makes sense is logistically. It makes sense in no other capacity, especially the energy system represented. You could have an island ninja, let's say, somehow sneak into the finals and then be 6 minutes back.
Yeah, that was the summation of our episode too. Good. I'm glad.
Okay.
Run the mile to get in the 5K final.
Run like the 800, I would even say. I would say it's that much drastic.
I would agree. I don't need to chime in on. I honestly was just trying to ensure I'm up to speed and understanding things correctly, because as I've had conversations with Bracken, I think a little bit off mic, like I'm thinking of getting back into it this year. Like I'm ready to go. And then I hear this and I'm like, well, like I don't even have a word for it.
We're going.
Are you really though? Is that for real? You guys are going actually to go just experience it? Or are you being stupid?
There's no reason for me not to.
I agree with that.
This was made for Bracken. I'm going to go and just see and do it for fun, I think, depending if like the travel makes sense. But yeah, we're going to have a race brain team. We're going to go.
Well, I'll be standing where everybody drives in protesting. I'll be there on the team.
You'll be shouting Hanson.
I'll be shouting Hanson. I remember. I don't know. I'll have to think about it, fellas. Maybe it'll
be like you, Atkins, and Aaron out there protesting, and then you and Aaron will square up, and you can make it our whole
no
event outside of the event.
I'll be there protesting, and then when it's my start time, I'll run and quick do it, and then come back out.
That was actually kind of fun. Yeah,
I didn't qualify. Back to protesting.
Shoot, I like that a little. All right.
Yeah.
Rich, can I jump in here? We've been really negative. We've been really negative towards everything, so I want to say something positive. Hyrox did a fantastic job of listening and adapting and making new protocol for 2023. On the fly, they put out an email this past week for anyone who didn't catch it, and they made changes, and they all made sense, and they were all the things that people asked for. So I just want to say, I'm not just down about everything. I'm not arguing just to argue. Sometimes I am. But in this case, Hyrox did something really, really good for the community, and I think it deserves to be applauded. They just did exactly what we asked for them to do, and they just did it. It just was logical and it made sense. It was so fantastic to watch.
Now, sorry, I will jump in. Rich, you and I were both there at the inaugural TMX. It was a disaster for both of us. But I have to say now, TMX, you ran the actual course, and then in the finals, you ran the actual course, right? You did this. You did the same thing, and I think in future years you had to do it 3 times, right? It was like the course, it was 3 stages, and ours.
And then it did get harder. They got
progressively harder.
There was only 2 years, but in the second year, I think there was 3 heats,
right? And
then the last heat was harder.
I will say, and this is the only thing that I think about is, it was a very low attended event, the first TMX, but even then, the way the energy built by the final, it was one of the coolest fitness things I witnessed as a spectator, because I didn't make the finals, that I'd seen in a long time. It was very exciting. And the one thing I can see this build is there's going to be true excitement built up by the time the finals come, because it happened at TMX, and I feel like it's going to be an exaggerated version of this, especially if it's well attended and well televised. And as a spectator, I loved it. I'm saying as an athlete, I don't know if I agree, but I hate to say that as a spectator, that format worked for me then, and I have a feeling it's going to work for me. We're going to build storylines. We're going to understand the investment from the athletes. We're going to be able to create a story every race that was built that day. And so from that perspective, I like it. Just don't like it for everything else.
That's what we said. We said it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be sick.
It's just
oh, okay. Yeah. So I'm nothing new is coming out of my mouth.
If it was a add-on, it's the greatest idea. It's just that it replaces the existing series, but the race itself is going to be pretty sweet and easy to film.
Yeah. And it'll probably be easy to attend and watch. And like you said, build that story. Like I said, logistically, the race it's going to change eventually, just because it doesn't make sense. And eventually they're going to run the course and they'll be like, oh, this is actually kind of dumb that we're doing 2 different races to qualify to a completely different race. That notwithstanding, it's going to be fun, and it's probably going to be a better product to consume and to tell stories about and to broadcast. So like, if this is how OCR started, everybody would be happy, but it's not, right? It was just the 180 that they pulled on everybody is really the part. So like, from an outsider perspective, or for someone who's not necessarily in the elite national series or something like that, it's probably like a shrug of the shoulders, like, oh, well, like, on to the next thing. But it's just painful for us right now, but it's going to be cool.
Okay, last question here as I'm catching up, and then I'm done. We can move on. Have they announced any indication of like a 5-race series or anything beyond just the general thought, like the overarching idea? Do we know any more details about that? And is there going to be a secondary series to replace anything, or are we just all in on this one? There's going to be no secondary option, stadium, traditional, nothing. Is that what we understand? Anybody?
As far as we know, I think that is correct.
And I was in the woods like alone for like 10 days. So I'm just
not metaphorically. You were literally in the woods.
Oh, right.
There was an interview that Matt Davis did with why can't I do the names?
Watson
and Hammond. So they kind of teased that there might be flagship events at iconic venues. So what I'm actually hoping for is that it's a more invitational style and be like, okay, the Killington race or the Tahoe race is $3,000 for the winner, and they'll pay out like a national series like once or twice, like 2 to 3 times a year or something like that, where they can kind of drive the people that are still interested in this and not necessarily need to have them do all 5 of races in the series. And they can kind of pick and choose because there's no end payout and just make these these key events and kind of build those up. And that makes more sense to me, even in terms of like the way endurance is kind of laid out now. We talked about the New York Marathon. That's kind of how marathons are, right? It's like they're all operate on their own. They all pay out on their own. You can choose where you want to go, and they're all their own like spectacle.
I love that idea.
Hopefully,
hire.
They could have just been saying stuff.
I love that idea. I
submit that we are put on a board. That's it.
I second that. So it's done.
Make us consultants or something.
Yeah. I'm in.
So let's put us in there. But on the Hyrox end, so they changed the sleds. That was the one thing that they standardized them a little bit more. So that basically they made the American sleds lighter is what it's kind of meaning to me.
And height.
And the pole height.
Yeah.
But the stack height on the plates is different still. They're not exactly the same.
That's different. But the poles were bigger issues than the stack height, I believe.
I agree.
So they did that. And the Rich Ryan rule came into effect, which is if you're top 3 at a regional or national championship, you qualify for worlds.
Yes.
And then the top going fastest.
Yeah. So they just came out and made an official statement because they had it buried in the rules somewhere, but basically now everybody knows how you can qualify through and that it should be fair.
How many country championships are there right now? There's a European and North American. That's it.
That's it.
So if you're top, okay, so there's like 6 people that automatically get in irrelevant of time, as long as they're in the top 6. And most likely those top 6 will have the correct time to get in anyways, but it's a fail safe. Is that what I'm understanding? Cool.
Yeah. Like last year, Rich was top 3 at North American championships, correct?
Yes.
And then had to wait for a roll down to get into worlds. So it's really the Rich Ryan rule. And I think we should champion that.
Mm-hmm. I will.
Need t-shirts or a plaque or
the something. Triple R.
Yeah. Alliteration. It's awesome. Love it. Yeah. So that is good, right? Because that is a thing. And if the courses are more standardized, then they should just be able to do the top 15. We're seeing now, even still, the US based times are faster for sure. And the sled push times are faster as well. But the European times are still disproportionately faster. So they're doing the best they can, but it's not egregious the way it was. It would be a 2-minute difference on a sled push in previous years. Now it's 30 seconds or something like that. So maybe it's close, but it's still going to be faster over there. So I'm glad that they still do have the Rich Ryan rule in place.
Were you the shining example of that? Were you the only, or were there more that was barely got in, and then that clearly came from slower courses, and then they're like, whoa, this guy's legit, and it's only because of the courses he ran that he almost missed? Were you the only one, or was there a whole host of people?
Well, Chris was a roll down as well.
Chris was a roll down, and then she wins?
Yeah. She rolled
on.
Yeah. So there was a lot more.
That's why I'm going to fight her.
Athletes. So you're going to see.
She just thinks everything's going to fall into her lap.
At the trifecta.
What's your first move? When you stand there and it's the whistle blows, what are you doing first?
Just charging.
You're just going to
take
charge?
down. I'm not gonna stand up with her. She'll catch me to something. She's probably like a black belt in karate or something.
Honestly,
so.
you're the only one who can pull hair and she can't. So that's what I'd go for.
Yeah, I'm taking her right down. I'm fighting dirty.
I was thinking about that today when, because she like busted her shin, like doing something silly. This is like the reasons I wouldn't live the life that Chris runs is because like I would worry about getting hurt the way that she just did. So she busted her shin, had like staples put in it, and ran the Trifecta World Championships, finished third. And I was like, see, that's why I wouldn't do stuff like that. And then I also thought, it's like, well, I'm not as tough as Chris, so it doesn't matter what I think on this. But what else about Hyrox? We had some good performances this past weekend. Brack and I, we hung out. We talked about it. That was fun.
We did a viewing party. We did the Manning cast, essentially.
It was a total Manning cast, and people kind of liked it. So you can check it out on YouTube. People got some decent feedback on it.
You guys hop on here and just record yourselves as you watched it live? Is that what you did? Sweet.
And put it out there live.
That's how you know
real
I'm
time.
way out of the loop.
You were invited. I think you were invited. Yeah.
Yeah. I bet.
You declined. I didn't get an RSVP, but you certainly declined.
I'm back. Don't worry. I'm back.
Can't hop down for a little bit.
Yeah. Drop the hammer came through. That was fun.
Dylan looked smooth. Real smooth. And he went 58, 38?
Something like that. 58, 28
now,
maybe.
I saw one person I coach had a sub-3 rock zone time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, are the rock zones up? I had to kind of split them out.
220 maybe, I want to say. So his had to have been around 2 flat or under, which that's exceptionally short. So add a minute or two to last year in Chicago, I think Callie and I were 440. So even if he was a minute faster, 340, that's almost a 2-minute difference. And then you take the sleds. Still though, season opener, he looked so good. He was chatting during the runs with the cameraman. He was just dialed in.
His time is the second fastest time in the world right now behind Tobias. So he's in a good spot. And that was completely solo.
Which I still think is better for Hyrox.
You racing solo?
Yeah.
Go on.
Either you need to either be closing and passing people or solo.
I would, in my first effort at that, I would perform my best if I was left. Heck, if nobody literally was in the building but me and I had my iPod or my music playing in my ears, I think I'd be better off. When you get caught up, it just when you over rev, it's too late, and the temptation to do that is so high, right?
I can't say we've had anyone PR in the midst of a battle. The only battle type PR is when they're closing and closing and closing and eating people up towards the end of a race.
So Kent against Hunter last year, Kent kind of did get away early.
He got away off the skier.
Yeah, he ran harder than Hunter wanted to run. So I wouldn't necessarily call that a battle. Yeah,
you want to be hunting or out in front, free and clear, so you can just do your. It's so easy to tip. When people cause you to tip, or they just take energy away by passing you. It's depressing.
And that's So yeah, he's in a really good spot right now. And Dylan's the kind of guy who if he was in that scenario that you laid out, Kirk, just by himself, iPod in, doing his thing, wearing khakis, eating peach rings. What were the shoes, Bracken?
Nike Windflow.
The Windflow. Ever heard of them?
Nope.
You can buy them at Kohl's. They're not a performance shoe.
Is that what he was really wearing? Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, they're like the knockoff Pegasus. A good tread on them. They're relatively light. He felt comfortable in them.
Aren't they real spongy? I assume.
Decently, but
Pegasus is pillowy.
It's decently firm these days.
The Pegasus I remember was like a pillow.
Back in the day, it was a pillow. It's gotten more and more firm, and then it got a little softer, and it's decently firm.
But now with these new foams, all like the old school foam is gonna feel like shit. No matter what. But he went out, did his thing, so he's probably in a good spot to qualify for Worlds with that. I can't imagine. I mean, though last year it was one race in Europe in Maastricht, which they had the European Championships again at the same location. That's where 10 of the top 15 times came from one race, and they were so much faster than what the athletes were capable of doing from a US standard that they all got in, right? And that race single-handedly bumped me all the way to 15th, whatever happened way back in the season. But 58:30, I think sub 59, you're going to be safe.
What's your PR? 59 and change?
60:35.
Oh, you're just over?
Just over.
What was your rock zone there?
It was long. It was like 4 something.
Okay, so you can chop a minute and a half to 2 off that.
So when I'm looking at these splits, right? Like if you take the rock zone plus the run, they usually end up being pretty close to the same.
Really?
Like the runs like the Chicago run, I think was shorter. And this past one, I think was a little longer because this was a pretty fast rock zone. So I looked at Meg Jacoby's splits, who set the world record, and I compared them to Linda's splits. And the runs that Linda ran looked faster, but her rock zone was slower. So it's like, and then when you add them, they were almost identical.
Okay.
So it's like they do an okay job with that. I don't think they always nail it based on the logistics of where you can start and how you kind of have to end. But for the most part, I think if you combine those two numbers and like what a long rock zone does, like from your mentality when you're still in there, I think if it's shorter and you're on the course faster, you can kind of get back to speed and start running faster. So a shorter rock zone, I think, leads to faster run times. But in terms of duration and distance, I think it's about the same. What was I saying? What were we talking about? And so why did I say
that was what we were talking about? I think we were just spinning.
He asked your PR. I said that was with the long rock zone.
Oh, yeah. Long rock zone. Long, hard sled push. Really is what it is.
Okay.
So you got to be
Dylan's
fired
in a good
up.
spot.
You got to be thinking you're sub 59 right now.
Yeah, like seeing Dylan, and because I'm close to Dylan, our PRs were about the same. His was like 15 seconds faster. And seeing him go so hard and do so well, I'm like, all right, cool. That's great to me.
Now his farmer's carry was very good. His burpee broad jumps are exceptional. But outside of that, and his ski and row are very good.
He's good on the machines. And he just doesn't get tired.
Yeah, but his
That's his main thing.
That whole
sleds aren't exceptional. His wall balls are very human, but he just works the entire time.
I was busting his balls on the wall ball part too. And he's like, it's my best wall ball ever. I was like, they were terrible. Do better. It needs to be faster. Breaking too much. But yeah.
I bet you twice a week, maybe 3 times a week, I get somebody chirping me about doing Hyrox at minimum still every week in and week out.
What's the catalyst for that? Is it a shirtless photo? And they're like, dude, Hyrox, get in there.
Maybe that's nothing. People just randomly ask me why I'm wasting my fitness.
You get asked that a lot. No one asks me that.
I get asked that all the time.
I haven't been asked about why I'm not using my fitness and going on a decade.
I had somebody message me a few weeks ago. I'm not going to say who it was. It was a personal message, and they said, "You have the most potential about everybody on RaceBrain. You know that. You should be racing." Said, "I have the most potential, fellas. You going to take that?"
I take
Tell that
offense.
to Jack Bauer. He's
That's
out there
what
in the
I'm
lab
saying.
training right now.
Yeah, he better be. He's not here. He's trying to figure out how to use that.
I was actually figuring out how to share that message. I couldn't figure it out with you guys, but
little screen grab, paste out the name.
No, I wouldn't do that to this gentleman.
So, but I disagree with him.
You should highly, yeah.
Come out to Hyrox LA. I heard you posted you're not even running anymore. You're done.
No, I just took a week off.
You quit?
I just crushed a workout today on the treadmill. I actually nailed my metrics after 8 days off. You don't lose fitness in 8 days. People are up their buttholes about losing fitness. They're out of their minds. Yeah, you're losing fitness because you're not training right to start with. That has nothing to do with your break. We can move on.
If you're taking 4 days off a week and then you take 8 days off, you're going to get out of shape.
Exactly.
That's a good way to put it.
That's the way fitness works.
There you go.
Bracken, do you think Meg or any woman this year is going to go under 60?
Under 60. I was thinking about that yesterday. I was looking at times. The sled didn't look easy for her.
No.
So I'm going to say yes. I think someone can. I think there were 30 to 40 seconds per sled waiting there.
Mm-hmm.
And then another 30 seconds of run time with Lauren right next to her. And then burpee broad jumps.
But she sounded like she put out, like she, in her interview, was like, that was it.
I mean,
I was stretched.
She
Definitely.
was, but she went unbroken on wall balls. So like, how cracked are you?
Didn't know that. Really? Unbroken.
Oh, yeah.
So
And
I'm sure she
lunges
felt
too.
real stretched by the end of that. But
Wow.
like, what's so then you start looking back. if I do the burpee broad jumps 30 seconds faster and the sled's 30 and my wall balls, I break twice. Like what's the net there? I don't know what the answer is, but going unbroken and not looking great on 3 of the stations means that she has time to drop. And it's only her second one.
That's the thing. It's that it's only her second one, right? And like her, like figuring out, like she probably took off the whatever 2 minutes or so based around 2.5-ish minutes based on just knowing what to expect when you get to the sled push, how it's going to feel after a sled or a sled pull, like what it's like during burpee broad jumps. And so like just the experience, I think improved a lot, but her fitness, like still figuring out how she needs to train for it and getting specific to it. Like have you seen her run, Kirk? Did you catch any of the?
I saw some of the stuff afterwards. She looked great, to be honest.
She was a college runner.
Yeah. I wonder, like, now you guys are way more experts. Obviously, I've never done Hyrox, but I understand theory here, right? And I get it. Like the ignorance is bliss phase, like can that apply to Hyrox at all? Like you don't know how bad it is and you don't know what you're getting into. Like you say, Bracken, you have a 1500 or a 5K runner who jumps down and runs a 1500 and runs an amazing time. And then they start to focus on it and it ends up being the fastest they've ever run as their first crack at it. In Hyrox, could it be one of those things where it's your first, second, third crack where you access this level and then you get to work on it and it becomes a real tough thing to get dialed in on once? Or is it just so niche and nuanced that it doesn't work that way with Hyrox? Like you must keep grinding to get faster. Is the ignorance is bliss thing? Is that like, in your first 3 races, you could pop it and then never see it again? I'm wondering if that could apply. And I'm not saying that's her. I'm just saying, does that exist or does that not exist in that? I
think it exists, but it doubled back. It's like 6 or 8. I think that by the time you get to your 5th or 6th race, you might perfect it. And even if you get more fit after that, you might just stop looking forward to the races because there's nothing new about it. But it's such a long race and the stations are so long that one mistake can change so much in the back end. So I think it takes several to get even to the point where you can work every station equally well. So I think that she, like Kent or Hunter, may never run faster again. I think they both will. Like the Kent we saw at North American, that was fantastic fitness, plus the biggest chip on his shoulder, plus people not taking him seriously, plus a really good course setup where he got to do a hairpin, get out of sight, and just there's some boost to that. I still think he'll be faster this year, but at some point you don't get up for the event anymore.
Well, like for Rich, like you've raced a number of these, like, it's like too much sometimes. Like I could show up for my first Hyrox with no dread because I don't like, it's going to be more anticipation. It's going to be, I'm going to be blindly stupid, right? And just be like, I'm going to go do a Hyrox and feel it out, right? But once like you get in, you like, I know what this feels like. And some people become afraid of it, or some people wonder if they can access that again because you only have so many of those efforts in you, that perfect. It's one of those things you have to perfect. And so I could see people running into roadblocks eventually with just how that race sucks. And then figuring out like people get afraid of that, or it's like, it's a heady thing. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud, but I could see that playing for some athletes. Could it not, Rich? Like with how much you've raced it? Like too much.
I get what you're saying, but the way that this event is laid out and how it's front loaded with the really challenging stations, you're going to feel worse than you think it's going to feel. And like, I don't think you are going to be like, oh, well, I don't really know what to expect, so it's not gonna be bad. It's bad right away. And then you're like, holy shit, can I keep going? Is this how it's supposed to feel? I don't think you're prepared to know how much you're supposed to push into the terrible feeling. Meg, as an endurance athlete, understands that, like knows that to run a hard half marathon, like it's probably going to be hard for a lot of it. And you're just going to have to sit and suffer for a long time. And I don't think that people will necessarily be prepared for that on their first try. They're probably going to get put on their ass early and think that they're dead when they're not. So I kind of
you are your first time you actually are.
But I think generally, but I think that you can get in your head about how terrible you feel and then just suffer for the rest of the way, where it's like you're dead for this little bit of time, but like you can kind of push into it and it does get better, or not necessarily better. It doesn't get worse, I guess you could say.
Training, it's probably I would almost look at it like a mountain ultra, where it's so far outside of what's normally demanded of your system that unless you trained for it, you can't survive the second half. Like, we've seen a lot of people that can do the first couple climbs and descents well, but eventually the descents catch up to you. And that's how the sleds are early. The sleds, the burpee broad jumps. Like, by the time you have to do a walking lunge with weight on your back, most people don't have the volume of training specificity to handle that at that point. So I don't. Have we ever seen someone crush their first attempt other than almost Meg? Like, really, truly not fade at all? I just
Ryland.
don't. Who?
Will.
When Ryland does, when he breaks the record in his first attempt,
I think he'll hold up.
No, I think he'll do well in his first time for sure.
It just surprises everyone.
There's a dude who's his name's James Kelly, who did sub 60 this year for his first time.
Yes.
So and Meg was like a 64 or something. We're seeing people run a little bit faster. Even like the dude, I don't know if it was his first time. The dude who got second behind Dylan was 61. Jared was 63, but he's probably more of a 59 type of guy.
But now's the time. Like, when we did our first one, we didn't have anyone telling us this is going to be way worse than you thought. We all thought we were going to break the world record. So we'd all done a sim and broken the world record. And then now 3 years of people saying, listen, it's not what you expect. And then they're in your gym and then you see how they train for it. And then you train like them. And people are getting our mistakes out of the way.
Yes,
they are. And so now is the time to come in and be successful. And maybe this year with the sleds, it'll hit a little different. But the sleds here always hit it's like being a parent. Like, until you actually feel it, you don't know how to prepare for it. Like, you can do 1,000-pound sleds. Megita did, and he still blew up on his first sled because you don't understand the way it pulls on you at a different angle and a different level. You slip differently. So until you feel it one time, it's hard to really train for how to train for it.
Well, what did you do, Bracken? You were like 111 your first time, and then 106 your second. You took off
117 and then 109.
Okay, so you took off like
still 8 minutes. Yeah.
8 minutes.
Just didn't know how, would you say? Like, was your fitness notably better, or was it almost like you just understood?
It was funny. It was only fitness and strength, because I couldn't run more than 2 to 3 times a week because I was waiting for meniscus surgery.
Okay.
So it was all feeling it one time. And then I would say 80% of it was weight room work, and the other 20%, or maybe it was 50-50, but was just knowing how to do it. Not trying to go hand over hand on the sled for the first time down.
You do have big biceps. However,
that's hand over bicep. That's forearm and grip.
Oh yeah, for sure. The grip can still get kind of blown up, even just walking it back. I'm kind of going back and forth, like wavering around how to tell people how to prepare for their first time. I was really hard, especially last year, being like, chill, survive the sled, and then kind of move into it. Now I feel it's almost like, just be prepared for it to suck really bad and just mentally hold on to how like to your fitness and to your training, and just try to push into it. And because like you can blow up really, really easily, but if you're to run your best, I don't know if being conservative is the best way to do it. So I'm kind of back and forth on how to even pace these things.
Thing where you can't be ready. You can be closer, but you can be ready for the feeling after it gets bad. So it's like, okay, you can't replicate the sleds exactly, but let's just do things until you feel like you're dead. And now you've got to do some threshold work at this point.
That's Dylan Scott style.
Yeah. You have to get yourself dead and then just get used to working at that point. That at least gives you the ability that when all those warning bells go off that you've never even felt before, you can say, I get it. Now we can start working.
This is why volume is so important in it. It's like, if you can just crank on a machine and you're willing to just sit on it and do like a 30-minute tempo on a machine and push some sleds and then do some more stuff, like, you're probably going to be all right.
The 2 events I would not jump into without specific work would be a mountain ultra or anything, marathon or longer race, or a Hyrox. Almost any other event we do, fitness crosses over pretty well.
Unless you're willing to just walk a bunch during the event.
Yeah, and the problem is you can't walk the sled. And you can't coast the lunges. You can't walk wall balls. So maybe Hyrox would be even worse to come into unprepared.
The scenery would suck way more.
Yeah. Better music.
Way better music. Way more jacked, shirtless people. It's a great scene in there. I love it. So on the Hyrox fantasy fronts, you guys are doing all right. You got Dylan ripping off a 58:30, number 2 time in the world. And then Linda Meyer has the second and third fastest time in the world. So you guys are sitting in a pretty good spot. And you have Tobias, who has the fastest time in the world.
Killing it. Do we have like a official scoreboard for this year?
I'm just kind of collecting. I'm collecting the times. I'll send it out.
However, Rich snaked Meg.
Smart.
Big brain over here.
Or you knew it.
I just knew what kind of specimen we're talking about.
Did you do that in the initial draft? Like she was kind of your sleeper, if I recall. Yeah. Dang you.
It was after New York.
Working together. He's been writing some stuff for her. He knew what was coming.
Oh yeah. I think she would have broken this record eventually, but I didn't think it would be this fast in her second crack at it.
That's the thing. How many times did Lauren take?
A lot. She ran
7?
She's a bunch of 68s, 67s on her resume for sure. Like she didn't come in and do well.
Yeah, all these other women who have done it going on, 6, 8, 10 times.
Linda, same thing. She's run 70s, 68s a lot.
Our world champ, Chris Roglaski, when she won, what was her time?
I think it's an equivalent to a 65. Her time on that course was 67 something, but I think it was about 2 minutes slow. It was just a slower course.
It was set up for viewership.
Yeah.
Which made it not a good course to compete on.
Those times just got to be kind of thrown out.
Yeah.
That's the only thing about her win is that people will give it an asterisk. It was slow, and the 2 best 3 weren't there.
The 2 best, everybody was there, but the 2 best at the time had another person inside of them, slowing them down.
Right.
And then Viola just had a really bad race. That was Viola's for the taking, and she just and Chris was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm not afraid. I'll win. I don't got a problem winning. It's hard to win. Some people don't want to do it.
It's true.
Some people
scary
don't know
running
how
out
to
front. Yeah.
Take it.
Right. Hey, it's now.
Yeah.
Got to go. And it doesn't seem like there's, and I think that's something Linda is going to have to learn to do, is especially how well she's been running. She hasn't won anything big, but she's putting up these big times. But Meg's not afraid. Meg will fucking win.
Well, that's the thing. Sometimes winning is just knowing when to step on someone's throat. It's not about running fast. It's about knowing when to kill them fast. Right now. You need to end it now. And Meg will do that. I think Chris will do that. That's what Hunter and Kent will do. That's what Lauren will do. They know when it's time to do something dumb in order to just step on the throat. All right, it's over. No matter what it costs me, the race is over. And there's the difference between running fast and winning a competitive race.
The women's side is going to be fun this year. Lauren comes back into shape and seeing what some of those Euros are going to do.
Here is Meg's issue. She will come off the sled. I know she's going to put in work, and I know you guys are going to chat all this stuff through, but she's going to come off the sleds as of right now behind.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No. Meg went unbroken. She broke 1 time.
Okay.
Lauren's not that good at the sleds.
Then she's going to come. So maybe I'm a little off on that. Then she's going to come to burpee broad jumps.
That might be a place where.
And there are 2 women in particular who are very dynamic on burpee broad jumps. So that is her point of emphasis. Mm-hmm. We haven't seen her passed in a race.
Mm-hmm. Right. So we don't.
And that's a depressing one to get passed on.
Yeah.
It's not like farmer's carry. It's well, what can you do to me here? I'm still moving. You might just be going faster.
So it's going to be set up for some cool races down the road on that side. And nothing really else to talk about. Michael Sambach ran well over in Berlin. He was 58 something. He's on my team. So shaping out well.
Jack have anyone good yet?
No. Are you serious? Jack took a bunch of people that aren't even racing. He goes, no, honestly. Tim Vinish, he's ran a really slow time. Alondra was pretty good. 63.03. That's a good time. Tom Hogan, it's
Rich,
fast for him.
You took yourself, if I recall correctly. When are you getting out? And when are you going to LA? You going to where are we going to see you?
Going to be LA. There's
so then we'll get a time for you.
Oh yeah, Kent's on my team too. So him and I we're going to be pushing each other to get fast times for the team.
Call your shot. I know we're ahead of ourselves, but call your shot.
Oh man,
come on, do it.
What did Dylan run? Hold on.
I thought it was 58:38.
I have it written down right here. He was 58:38, so I'm going to run at least 58:36 for sure.
Assuming equal venue and carpet.
Mm-hmm.
You should be right around that.
Definitely faster than Dylan. I mean, my fitness is strong. It's just like the volume of those back end things I haven't been doing a ton of work on. And I've been doing more pushing of sleds of that tank, which is different. Like the tank blows up your legs really bad, but there's like the bracing that you need to push the sled on that carpet, like through your abdominals and even like your upper body, just can like restrict blood flow throughout your entire body so bad that you get off the thing and like it all rushes away and you're like lightheaded, right? You don't have that bracing when you're pushing the torque tank. It's just legs. It's just like your legs burn. And like, so muscular endurance wise, it should be good there. But like that full on strength through my core and while pushing and trying to breathe, I don't have a ton of volume there yet. So
it's called the Valsalva maneuver.
Mm-hmm. Which like, you shouldn't really be doing that
with the heart rate that high
while doing endurance work.
Like
the only time
a 60-minute race,
do the Valsalva maneuver is if you're on the toilet or you're like bench pressing.
Squats. Come on, bro.
Squats. Okay. You understand.
Deadlift.
I'm saying in the gym. Right. You get it.
In the gym.
I don't need to list it all.
List
but
them
it's
all.
What you do when you sit down, you take a poop and you go,
I Valsalva for everything since hernia surgery.
Oh, yeah.
I get out of this chair, I go,
got to make sure everything's staying in place.
I Valsalva for every floss. I'm sensitive.
Floss. Don't even.
Intra-abdominal frequency training is what we're going for that.
Right.
World's toughest this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, buddy.
We in.
We got a contingency for this one with people pushing back after Spartan Ultras getting canceled. Like we got ourselves. I mean, Batras dropping is kind of a bummer. I hope he's all right, but
for sure.
But we have people filling the gaps there as far as top end potential, which is pretty exciting because it could have been a little anticlimactic, and now we got some people to really deep in the field. Pumped up.
Can't wait.
I got a couple people out there. How about you guys?
Our own Ian Floyd.
Ian Floyd.
I think he's Winter Park Athletics.
Oh, come on. I forgot we share him. He takes your strength training and my important training.
I think he's doing the important training solely, but once he's training for the Fire Academy, which I think he's crushing. But
is he coaching under you?
Got done.
He just got done.
Yep. No more PT for him for a while.
Right. Is he coaching under you, Bracken?
Yeah.
Huh.
So he'll be out there. That's our guy rooting for him.
This is our second World's Toughest together.
Do people know what Ian Floyd does for us? Should we give him a shout out real quick, Rich?
Let's give him a shout out. That's our guy on the social medias. He's doing all of our, good stuff. Yeah, a lot of the back end stuff, all the stuff that you're seeing most likely is coming from Ian.
Thanks, Ian.
Couldn't do it without him because us three, we're not doing social media.
Get worse and worse by the day over here.
I just given up. I haven't posted on my account in like months.
Dude, I'm learning how to do reels now. Shit is getting. I'm gonna be on TikTok. I need to get that. Well, you got that blue check already, Kirk. I need some of that blue check love.
I think you can go and apply now. So I think you can ask for one.
On Twitter now, I think that they changed it. You just buy it.
You pay for your application.
For Twitter or for
Twitter? You can apply for it.
I think now that Elon changed I think he changed it to like a subscription model. I think it's like $8 a month and you get a blue check and like you're like a couple, I'm not on Twitter. I don't tweet. So
this is what I think happens on Instagram. You go on, you're like, I deserve a blue check. I need to be authenticated because nobody else can be me. I think what they do is you just submit this really easy thing, I believe, and they'll Google your name probably and be like, how many times does this bro's name pop up? And you got a bunch of race results, right? So like, oh, dude, this guy's everywhere. Like, okay, he's legit. And then basically that's going to be it. That's all they're going to do. And they're going to go see if there's some fake accounts made about you, some like Rich Ryan fan club accounts. And if there's a couple of those, like, yeah, this guy needs his own blue check.
So I need to make those.
Yeah, a couple burner accounts.
Yeah.
And you're going to be plenty searchable with all your athletic endeavors and the podcasting. So you qualify. I think you just need a burner account or two.
But you've seen those people that have blue checks and they have like 4,000 followers or something like that. It's like, does this person need a blue check? Does like this person just clearly figured out a way around how to get it?
Couldn't tell you.
So
I don't want to detract from Ian Floyd. I feel he needs a shout out. This is a guy who just has done the work for like a year and a half now. He's just put in the work and gone in on ultras. And he's just gotten better and better. And last year he wanted his 50-mile best and he got, I think, 60, 55 or 60. And this year he's going for 70, 75. Ooh. And I think he's going to get it. He just doesn't give up. He just keeps going. And that's how he trains too. So he's the example of if he just did it every day, what can happen?
He has a body transformation story too that is pretty remarkable. Like he's lost a ton of weight, built himself to this type of athlete now. So like his mind is strong. He's been training out in like Leadville. Like he lives like up there.
Moved there this year.
Yeah. Yeah. He like runs Mount Elbert as like a benchmark. It's like the tallest mountain out here.
Go ahead.
We have time trials up on the Leadville course.
That's wild. I got a guy, Jeff Fettig. His real name's Jeff, but he's going for, I'm claiming it, Jay. We just had a phone conversation before this consult. He's going 100.
100?
He's going to hundo. He was 4th at Ode de Laz. 5th at Ode. Dude's dialed in. We discussed strategy. I think you're going to see, his name is Jay, but it's Jeff on paper. I don't really understand that, Jay. You're going to have to let me know, but Jeff, he's going top 10 for sure. I think he can crack top 5.
Jeff with like a G?
No, with a J.
Oh, that's why it goes by J.
Yeah.
Then
awesome.
Yeah.
Do we have any insight on the course? I know Matt over at ORM is doing World's Toughest Week. So I think he's kind of blowing up that type of content for these type of questions that I'm asking. But we know it's in the Southeast. But what, and like
this is the good stuff people are tuning in to Patreon for.
Patreon only content here. But
so southeast of the US, I think.
Yeah, somewhere there.
So it's on US soil is what we're
but like, are there any wrinkles? Have they like
sometimes temp is going to be another, it's always going to be, it's down into the 30s overnight. Is
it that cold?
Yeah, it's looking low, like 36 as of now. I mean, it's not going to change much between now and then. And, when you start dipping in that water it's going to be, there's not a lot of light this time of year. You're looking at like 12 hours straight or so of dark water laps. It's going to be a big deal. I think you're dipping down into those temps. That's cold. 50 degrees, 60 degrees, even hopping in water sucks. Make it 30, below 40 for 5-6 hour stretch. It's going to be the story. Some people are going to drop because of hypo and cold every year. It's going to happen, but it's in the South, but they had warmer weather and it looks like it's shaping up to be a cold one, high in the around 60, 65, and then cold. That's going to be the storyline, I think.
Early on, there was a lot of talk of this. We won't need wetsuits. It's Florida. And then it wasn't Florida. And then we won't need wetsuits. It's warm. And then suddenly it's not warm. And just good old world stuffness now. It's going to be every bit as cold as Vegas was.
Yeah.
That Atlanta year, there's 2 years in Atlanta, I think. Those seem terrible too. I mean, this is more south than that Atlanta course in Alabama somewhere. But it gets cold and it's humid. It's not a good feeling type of cold.
You're not going to be dry. I mean, a lot of those people aren't going to take their wetsuits off for 12 hours straight. They're going to choose to keep them on. And if you can't move fast enough to warm all that neoprene back up and reheat, that's the tough deal. As soon as you slow down too much, it's over. So it's the ones with the fitness. Honestly, it's if you got good fitness, sure, you're going to be fine. But as soon as you start that walk, you got to move. You start that walk train, it's going to be over real fast.
But that's the interesting thing about this course. They start giving vests away at 50 miles. And you can achieve that by walking. You can run that first hot lap and walk pretty much every step of the way after that. If you do it with purpose and you minimize pit time. If you just don't stop moving and walk the whole time, you can get 50 miles in 24 hours. So you can do that and people will base their strategy around that. But eventually you can't stay warm enough by just walking with purpose. There has to be another component to it.
The contingency there is a noon start time. It gets dark at 5:30, 6 o'clock. So all you have is like 6.5 hours of daylight, and then they're shoved in the dark already. So you have people who think I can run 75 and they drop at 30, 35, crazy stuff. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but you will see cases of that only because of when you cold, you can't. I mean, I've been there. Like, I'm done. I can't function, and my body will not work.
And then you hear people say, "Well, I'm going to bank miles. I'm going to get out and bank miles." And like that's true. They're in your bank, but you don't get to draw interest off that.
Yeah, there's no interest on those bankable miles.
So you have whatever miles you got done, but now you face that potential issue of I'm blowing up and starting to get really cold. Like you want to get cold as you get to work, not as you start to die. So that I'm going to bank miles thing is really, really tough. Then you hear some people say, I'm going to front and back load my race. And during the night, I'm just going to do I'm going to work and then rest. And then that just turns into, you don't leave pit for 5 hours in a row. So it's just such a head game out there.
It's another one where unless you're trying to win, and even maybe if you're trying to win, the Hyrox approach about like, if you could do it with nobody else around, not get caught up in the people going off fast, just literally be like, I'm running 12-minute pace and that's what I'm doing. That'd be probably your best bet too, following through with the plan. We were going through Jay's splits from last year. He went with the bank miles approach, we learned.
Okay.
And it's just incredible going from 46 to 52 to 55 to 104 to 115. It's
got to be demoralizing too.
His laps were twice as long at the end. And this is he still, I think he had 70, but nonetheless, yeah, it's just not the way to go unless you're that good, and few people are.
You get one hot lap. You get one. Okay, get through before the obstacles open. I get it. But that's such a genius move by World's Toughest because it just creates a vacuum. We got to get out. And then that second lap, instead of saying I'm going to go 42 minutes and then an hour and then an hour, you go 42 and then you go 46, and then you go 53 and then you go 58, rather than you get one and settle in. People, they still feel kind of good, and it's tough.
That'd be my biggest thing with this. Like, how do you even know how to pace something like this? Just like, I don't know, this feels good and it's still this feels slow and it's still too fast. It just, like, I guess it would just boil down to your fitness and your preparation.
Yeah.
Like knowing where you should be. The dudes field. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I was just wondering, do we know the big thing is like obviously the wet and getting wet, and in Vegas you always had the iconic cliff jump, right? It was like you went up and you jumped down. How far was it? It's like 20, 30 feet. It's a ways.
Pretty high.
And it took some mental courage just to get off the damn thing, watching Rhea Coble sit there and pace, before having to do something like that. So there's some fear. What is that situation for this weekend? Do we know? Is it a big cannonball situation, or how does that work?
I don't know about that, but there's a big slide.
It's a slide into water. Is that what it is?
I thought I saw a 57-foot slide.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that's the only one, but that cliff jump, that element just wore on people.
It did.
They keep that stuff pretty close to the chest too, right? And then isn't there something with like a puzzle or something where they kind of release what it's going to look like, and then during aren't there things like I haven't done the event. I follow it somewhat closely, but it changes a lot where you can kind of collect different items so you can kind of bypass obstacles when you want.
Yeah, carabiners they had in the past where if you completed certain things, like if you went through electric shock therapy, you would get a carabiner. Or if you did whatever, the cliff jump, you get a carabiner. Or if you made it to the end of Funky Monkey and did the extra piece at the end, you got a carabiner. And you could use it as a pass on obstacles. And so you could save them up and do hot laps at the end, or you could just bypass the one thing you don't want to do over and over. I think there was something.
I don't think water was allowed though. Like those were off limits, right? Like that's mandatory.
I don't remember that exact rule. There's one they had to sit and chip a carabiner out of concrete. And so if you did that every lap, you could save up. I think Ian did that. He saved up carabiners for a bit. And then you could bypass certain things that you realize are starting to make me cramp or rip my hands. You can, and they close some obstacles for certain times and open others. And there's a lot of strategy that goes into it.
So year over year, it's hard to project like an expectation for total mileage or how it's going to compare to previous years. Because this dude's field is deep with studs. So like,
maybe. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to ask, like, what do you think? Like, how many miles do you think we're going to see this year?
Wet is not good.
Wet is not good.
So that always lowers everything. But I think we can see 105 to 110 if there's not crazy things happening.
Did Bot just go 120, was it?
That was 15.
115 or was
I don't know. I can't say for certain.
Oh my goodness.
Bracket's gotta go break up a fight right now.
Yeah.
It's voting day, and City Hall is a voting center, and so it's just constant people in and out all day long. And
that church across the street's not a voting center?
No.
With the church bells? Nothing?
No.
Thought it might be.
Maybe, maybe, if they're keeping things tight to the chest, there may be burpee penalties enforced on some of these things.
That's
Could
right.
you imagine? They like to pivot hard. Mr. Joe DeSena.
Is he going to be out there?
It seems like his kind of event.
He does.
You never know, right?
Maybe he'll win it.
Is this the first? This is the second Tough Mudder Spartan organized event, or is this the first? Was last year a Spartan event? Like after Spartan took over?
I believe so.
It was. So this would be the second year. Okay.
This is the first year they had, I think, an entire year planning to do it.
Okay. Just wonder if that'll. Yeah, it was like it was a couple months before, right, when that transaction happened last year. I don't know if we'll see anything like that, or Joe DeSena shows up and turns the world upside down by offering $50K to somebody, or any of that stuff. I wouldn't mind seeing it. It's probably not going to happen. But.
He'd be the person who would say if you can get to 50 by 12 hours, or 70 by 12 hours, or something like that, 75 by 12 hours, or what I would love, just absolutely love, from the standpoint of watching people lose their minds, would be spear throw.
Oh,
I love to see a spear throw.
If they put a bucket carry or something that's like very Spartan into the Tough Mudder community, it would just blow up. People
spear
would go
throw with
nuts.
burpee penalty.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness. People would lose it.
I do think, my personal opinion, at least in the traditional Tough Mudder events, I think it makes sense to me. Like burpees maybe make more sense to me in that
and spears, honestly,
in that realm than it does in Spartan. Like I wouldn't mind that shift. I'm apathetic about that being added, but I don't. It's more about the experience, right? If you want to do them, great. If you don't. But it's an experience-oriented event. It's very, very rarely competitive, other than these flagship events. And so, I think that's more of its place than anything, isn't it? Nobody needs to watch your form because no time's being taken. Who gives a crap? You don't even get a place.
And I think World's Toughest is a spot for a spear throw. It's designed about funky, weird things out of nowhere. I think Spartan Ultra Championships should not have a spear throw. I think everything should be penalty loops that are so demoralizing that you quit the race because you can't fathom doing that penalty loop again. A 300-meter farmer's carry. Something that after you do that 3 or 4 times, it's taking you 20 minutes because you can't pick the farmer's carry up anymore because your grips. I think that Spartan race is the place for make the penalty of missing so bad that you don't want to miss an obstacle. And I think World's Toughest is a place where a spear actually makes sense. Is it any weirder than shock therapy?
You're kind of right, though, kicking you while you're down. You failed the monkey bars? Good. Well, we're going to fry your grip even more, and we're going to kill you. We're actually going to make this impossible for you to finish. And the cream rises to the top, right? The penalty is rewarded with actually making worse what just you fell off of. I kind of like it, like turning the knife a little bit.
You'll never see it, but how awesome would a 60-second dead hang penalty be for a race? Right, you can't make it through. Now you got to hang for a minute. It might take you 3 minutes, but you got to accumulate a minute.
Oh my god!
You won't be able to judge that, but
and it's like a huge mud pit at the bottom. You just fall into the mud.
Have to get back out. Oh.
Yeah, you could make it bad enough that you don't want to fail obstacles.
Kirk, you would have dug some of the carries for the trifecta. Some cool ones of those big chains. They had a big block of something, and they're really in succession. You got to watch that cover. It's pretty solid.
I should.
The chain carry mattered.
Why?
It mattered 2 years ago, 2 years ago too.
Like, what was the deal with it?
It was in a swampy, river basin looking area. And they were trudging ankle to knee deep and sinking into stuff. And it was probably 30 yards. Rylan dropped it at one point. He couldn't see it. I didn't see it on camera. He dropped it, and I didn't see where it was because he had to go down and get it.
Underneath the water?
Yeah.
I love that.
The chain is cool.
It mattered. It was a real obstacle.
And Richard Hynek won, by the way. I don't even think we mentioned that. Awesome showing on his end.
Way to go, Richard.
Someone tagged us. They said, will Bracken Crocker finally admit that if you did the race 10 times, Richard would win more than once? I must have said something like, if you did that Trifecta World Championship 10 times, Richard probably doesn't win again, or 10 different people win. I was referring to that year that it happened when Woods was there and crushing everyone until he cramped, and Atkins was there, but his back was hurt. I didn't mean in general. Richard's a monster. I just want to clarify that. I meant that one year when you had a bunch of other monsters there. I thought anyone could win any given weekend.
This is your time to apologize. We got to that part of the show.
There's always one.
Look who we have
I'm not apologizing.
here.
I'm doubling down.
Yeah, right, Jack.
Speak for us, Jack.
How does the microphone sound now that I'm using it?
Way too
loud.
Clear.
Well, guys, it was a good discussion today. Hope you all got a lot out of it.
Sounds good. Yeah, this was a tech nightmare for me this morning. So if you want me to sign off and you guys just continue, all good. I don't know what I can contribute.
The same that you always do. So we never know.
Yeah. We've talked all the smack about you we possibly could have already, honestly, so you might as well stay.
All right, sounds good. I'll listen to it later and be.
But you also sound good. That's for sure. Thank you to our Patreon members hooking Jack up with a microphone. Sounds great. So you know exactly what he sounds like when he's talking about numbers and stuff.
Appreciate it, guys.
You do sound exponentially better. Holy smokes. And loud. Very loud.
It'll level.
Okay.
I got it. Yeah, maybe you might.
I feel like it's the same distance from the rest of you, but
you're doing great. Okay. We're talking about World's Toughest. We haven't talked about who's all going to be there. I'm trying to list them off. We talked about this a little bit last episode, but we got Mark Goddett, Tyler Veerman, Josh Reed, Chris Mendoza, Trevor Psychos, your boy Jeff Fatigue, Jay.
Listen, Fatigue. Anthony Kunkel says he's going 120.
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
It's like doing your first Hyrox. You probably could, but can you do it on your first one?
Yeah. I love the fact Anthony Kunkel, he's going to be so
I love it.
High on shrooms out there, and he's going to rock it.
What kind of body hacking he could do to get 120? I don't know.
I hope Ben Greenfield is his crew.
He just come in as like shine light over him. So get back out there.
Did you see Matt V. Davis's post about Ben Greenfield? He said, this is Ben Greenfield, and he showed him talking, and he said, and this is him now. He grew a beard, got necklaces, and lowered his voice. And it was Ben. He was just doing his normal talking, not doing his public speaking, and then he's like, "Hi, I'm Ben Greenfield." It sounded like a Ben Stiller voice or something, trying to. Oh, it was wild. Yeah, Ben's doing it. He's hacking to the limit.
He's out of my universe. Like I used to kind of follow stuff, and then after a while, I was like, this dude he's not
on a freaking moon.
I was like, I don't need this in my orbit in any capacity.
I mean, Ben Greenfield was on Rogan like 3 years ago. Like if you're going on Rogan, and then you're only progressing from there, like whatever that guy's doing is getting attention, right? It was a very interesting conversation. Rogan ate it up.
Huge following. Absolutely. And he speaks really well, and he can, talk about shit that doesn't make any sense and people believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who was just back to WTM real quick. Kirk, was Elmer King, was he the guy that you were pretty high on as like a dark horse?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is he still in the lineup?
Other names.
Is he doing World's Toughest?
I thought he was.
Is that when it came up for World's Toughest, or was it something else?
Maybe that was Tahoe, but I figured most people are probably going to go from.
It was Tahoe, right?
Yeah, if they were planning on that, they're probably planning on this.
Who did I miss? Who's the other? There was another athlete in Spartan, whose name's slipping my mind right now, who was leading the race before Mark and Tyler ran him down.
Miguel Medina.
Yeah, was Miguel going to be there?
I doubt it.
He's been trail only pretty much this year, and for like the past 5 years.
I feel like you're worried about how loud you're sounding, Jack, and now you're kind of like,
okay,
really low now.
I'm pulling Ben Greenfield. That was an appropriate person to bring up right there.
Well, let's pull back the kimono.
Is there any other sleepers, Jack, that come to mind?
Those are probably like the 6 or 7 biggest on the men's side. Realistically, I think Josh is going to be a problem. Personally.
Time.
Does he have 24-hour experience?
He got 85 miles at WTM before.
Him and Mark Goddett were 4th, 5th 1 year.
Same debut. And Josh is a different athlete than he was back then. Just like Mark, just like Veerman. Like, this is going to be a really interesting year.
He and Kunkel are probably pitting together.
Yeah, the whole
I can't even
squad.
imagine
and
the things they're going to put in their body during this race.
the disrespect that we're showing. DJ Fox is part of that crew as well. He got third
Yeah.
last year. Didn't
Yep.
even mention. We mentioned like freaking 10 athletes. Didn't mention the guy who got third.
Has
'Cause
DJ
It's
Fox
stacked, man. It's stacked.
has Fox become the highest placing world championship finisher ever to get the least amount of notoriety ever in the history of OCR? Has anyone ever been top 3 at Worlds and got less fanfare than him?
Who's on the
Irene
podium?
Call.
Who's that?
What? Did she take third?
Texas the first year.
Yeah.
And she crossed the finish line 7th in the men's field with Hobie Collin, his last Tahoe. Don't forget about that.
That's right.
He
Yep.
took her out there, and she finished 7th in the men's field. Impressive.
Still though,
I-
DJ Fox might be the most underappreciated OCR athlete ever. Ever.
His put a stamp on it. That finish that he had last year was so improbable because he's essentially a high achieving age group athlete most of the times that we've seen him in Spartan.
Mhm.
And like, he'll be on age group podiums, he'll win. And then he's like kind of moved himself into the lead. He'll be mid pack, but to get third at a world championship race like this, almost out of nowhere, what they're doing down there, it's working, man. And what's Josh going to do then? Same type of methodology, probably a little bit more talent, a couple years ahead of where DJ is. Like,
What do you mean what they're doing down there? Do those two have the same stable?
yeah.
They live together.
I didn't know Fox was with them.
Yeah, DJ's part of that Ultra House crew.
Oh my goodness.
That's right. No, there's probably not a more confident man in the field, and I only know this because we interviewed him for 2.5 hours, is Anthony Kunkel. That man believes in himself.
I demand drug testing.
Earnestly.
Can he pull it off? Can an Anthony Kunkel who's never done an OCR come in or whatever he's did to qualify? I have no idea, I guess, if he's done something.
He had to qualify.
Yeah. What did he qualify at?
He did
Anyway.
Texas, didn't he?
Texas. Anyways, can he come in and do it? Can a guy like him is it possible?
Steve Hammond picked him to win.
Really?
Did he?
Yeah.
And Steve has no investment in Kunkel, I assume, right?
Not that I'm aware of. Yeah.
I would be shocked by no connection. If in the next midterm election, the campaign, someone's like, and I'm endorsed by Anthony Kunkel, I'm like, yeah, of course you are. He's got his fingers out. He keeps popping up places. I'm like, is that Kunkel in the background? Yeah, that's Kunkel.
That's so true.
He's light. Like his
light.
grip progression will go quicker than other people's will. And he embraced strength training a bit. He went out and stayed with Hunter. He's on board with that kind of thing. He could. No one's beating Gaudette or Tyler.
He stayed with
but
me.
could.
Almost stayed with Rich.
They got uninvited to this place.
Yeah.
But so Jack had to.
Wait, what
take
happened?
All right. Quick little side tangent story. So
I don't know this.
yeah. So basically it's like 8:00 at night. And then Rich is like, hey, Josh, and he was supposed to stay with me, but he can't fit his bus at, my apartment or something like that.
He has an
Would
actual
he be able
bus,
to-
not like a
School bus.
van.
Repurposed school bus. I didn't realize that. And so I'm like, yeah, sure. Josh can stay with me. That's fine. We've got room in the basement like that. So I call up Josh. I'm like, hey Josh, you need my address. You've stayed with me before. No issues. He's like, yeah, I'll be there pretty soon. And he's like, you've got an open bed in the basement. I'm like, sure. And then he shows up like 30 minutes later. And this is like at 9:30 at night or something like that. He decided to do the incline the day before, or earlier that day instead of just going straight here. He shows up, 7 people roll out, and I'm like, I was not expecting 7 people to stay here, and one of them was Anthony Kunkel, and basically they just made tent city in the basement, and it worked out. So
They call that making a nest, I believe.
essentially, yeah. But
Only if they're about to drop acid, Kirk.
Whatever.
That's when it's a nest.
I remember I had to but you make a nest. Is that, am I understanding correctly? Like a nest? He's like,
Yeah, like a trip nest.
Like a trip nest. Oh,
Like, oh, okay.
yeah, I
They're decriminalized. What's on the ballot, right, Jack? To decriminalize
think so.
psychedelic mushrooms
for medical
in
purposes
Colorado?
or something. Yeah.
They'll be in stores in no time. Those things are going to be out here for sure.
Yeah.
But I like their methodology around ultra endurance training. They're very much on like the fat adapted part. Like if you can really nail that, like your nutrition matters a little bit less because you don't have to eat as much. And a lot of the people who end up dropping out or having problems in these long races are like GI issues, how much they can take in and how much they could actually process through. So like that squad is going to rely less on that. I mean, that's the idea behind it. And it's kind of works for these ultra endurance type of events.
Does it work for hybrid ultra? Like when you have to do things that spike you, does that lower the effectiveness? When you got to tip anaerobic just by the physicality of the obstacle.
How anaerobic are you getting? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. That's the question. How many little pokes in that tank does it take? I don't know. Have we seen someone, a self-proclaimed fat adapted athlete, take on world's toughest?
I think DJ's an example.
Last year he was already. Okay.
But even if they tip over, you'd think because they're fat adapted, they could just go right back to that energy system. Sure, it hits them, but in theory, there should still be a big tank to draw from, even if
you eat carbohydrates during an event.
Yeah,
right. So like if you are getting
they're not in ketosis during it.
No. It's just like they have to rely a little bit less. They might have to eat less frequently throughout. So
do you think that having multiple people in their crew out there is going to help them though? Like what if Josh and Anthony and DJ, they're just like, let's just go on a run together for the first 12 hours, see what happens after that. I think morale wise, that's going to help a lot.
I hope they turn on each other and just start.
Yeah. It's Hunger Games. They just start
dropping them.
Yeah.
Jack, if you had to fight one person in OCR, who would it be?
One person in OCR. Did you guys have this conversation earlier?
Yeah.
It was unanimous.
Okay. And I'm obviously expecting to win in this one.
Doesn't matter. You could just want to see. I think Joe DeSena would be a good one. It's like I just want to see what it is. What's he got? Like,
I'd like to see Nick Riker. That'd be
I'd love to fight. I'm gonna fight Riker. I don't know.
That's a good answer. That didn't
come up too hard.
How did that not come up?
He seems like one night on the town you could fight Nick.
I'm gonna one. Yeah,
I like Nick, but
one
I think
sentence in the talking to him. Fucking fight.
It'd be interesting. Yeah.
Can't wait.
Actually, you know what? Dylan Scott, because of what he said to me after finishing that race.
Good one.
Yeah.
Gangly.
He'd be wrapped around you like a spider monkey.
Yep.
What did he say to you?
Oh, basically, he finished the race, and like I said, he'd finished like 10th, and he ended up getting 6th or 7th. And he's like, "You can take that spreadsheet and shove it up your ass, Jack." Like, okay.
Leave the spreadsheets out of this. Yeah. Now it's on.
Yeah. I guess the other nominee would probably be Matt B. Davis for obvious reasons. I think that would kind of be unfair. That would be like, the NWO and some of those Ric Flair just came back. It's like, you don't want to beat up someone that age. So
I don't
feel bad about it.
No.
Just be sad.
It would be.
Just leave feeling sad.
Yeah, it's like you beat up that one uncle at your get together.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? I'm gonna change mine. Give me Robert Killian.
All right.
There can only be one.
There can only be one.
Right
yep.
Yeah. That's a heavy pivot.
Should it be a triple threat match? You, Nick, and Rob?
Sure.
Yeah.
He can get the bye because he's a multi-time world champion, but I want to put that special forces badge to the test.
Just want to see. You want to find out.
And there can only be one. All right.
He kicks Kevin Gelati's ass. In whatever Steve Austin's broken skull.
Maybe I don't want it.
Now, Bracken, you might not remember this, but right around the time when you were leaving Colorado Springs, I was just getting up there. We met at your apartment.
How would I not remember wrestling you in a what was it, a
little sandbox?
Jello bath? Oh
no! What is that? What is that game?
It was like
something
pull the flag off, pull the Velcro or something like that.
Anyways, I helped he and Benny prep for wrestling at Broken Skull.
Yeah. Bracken, he's feisty. I think I like Bracken's chances.
You can scrap?
Yeah.
Well, Rich picked you.
Jack, I'm fighting you, Jack.
You wanted to pick? Okay, let's go.
No, I didn't want to pick
all of it today.
Yeah, I'm coming.
Joe DeSena,
Decadog. I wasn't even there to defend myself. Now at least I'm aware of it. But yeah, Decadog plus like the prize fight right here. We've got a good weekend coming whenever we decide to do that.
Dylan's looking like Decadog's coming his way, so you can fight him after Decadog.
Rough. Yeah.
On the women's side of World's Toughest, we didn't. We got Katie Knight's going, right?
Katie Knight. I thought Amelia said she was gonna.
Is that right?
I'm looking at a YouTube Google search right here, and it says World's Toughest Mudder women contenders: Amelia Boone, Katie Knight, Hannah Carta, Kelly Schweikart, and Christopher Glosky could lead the deepest women's field in WTM history.
What do we expect from Amelia?
She's gonna get sepsis or something.
She already has it. Kirk, what did you get that one time from Palmerton?
MRSA.
Got MRSA.
I think I got it from the plane ride back. I got the cut in Palmerton, MRSA in between that and TMX.
That's why you don't fly Spirit Airlines.
I don't remember what I flew. I just thought, honestly, this is the thing that caught me off guard with that, is when you get MRSA or a staph infection, you break out with this crazy rash under your armpit, and I was itching it till it was like oozing. It was disgusting.
Ugh.
But I coincidentally switched deodorants that week. And I was like, it's the deodorant. So I never thought to go to the doctor and see that I was potentially dying from the inside out. So I put it off like a week. So warning, if you start breaking out in your armpit.
Pus from the armpit when you switch deodorant brands?
How often?
No, but like once a decade. So I figured that was the thing. It was an easy thing to point at. Anyways.
I had that happen once. I switched deodorants in college and I put it on and like 5 minutes later, I'm like, man, this is burning.
Right. Just
After
get rid
10
of
minutes, I got in the shower and scrubbed it all off and I lost a layer of skin. It peeled off like sunburn.
That happened to me too.
Was it antiperspirant or just deodorant?
I don't know.
You got to use antiperspirant with us. Sweating so much.
That's a weird thing to do.
Especially the material, the t-shirts we're all wearing these days.
What's your deodorant brand of choice? What do you guys use?
Currently Degree.
Tom's unscented.
Yeah, I used like some native, like natural something.
I rub crystals in my armpit.
Chew up a paste. Plop it in there.
What works real well is toothpaste, by the way. It dries everything up in there. It's nice. It's a crusty thing, but put a little Colgate in there, you'd be shocked.
I can't imagine what these last 10 days in the woods were like for you.
I didn't shower for 8 of them. It was awesome.
Oh, that's probably pretty nice.
Damn.
I like that.
That's why I record remotely. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So who do you guys think on the women's end? Like I would put Chris as the favorite. Even with the potential MRSA, she's going to have
Trifecta coming a week earlier.
No,
we've seen her run 100 miles.
Well, no, right. That's what I'm saying. Like, we're just not regarding any of that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. This is an easy run.
Katie.
You think so?
I'm going to give Chris a chip on her shoulder here. I've never seen her win a long race.
I think that's fair.
She does great at them.
That's good analysis.
But I haven't seen her win one.
Like win a hundo, like a pure hundo.
Yeah. An ultra? I don't see her win them. She does second, third, fourth. I've never seen Katie truly lose.
Ooh.
That's a good call.
Yeah, Chris.
Plus, I stated at the beginning that I'd fight her.
Yeah,
that was my pick, Jack.
You know that Chris messaged me after our last episode, and she also wears a watch on her right wrist, and she's right-handed. So she listens. She'll hear this part as well.
Mm-hmm.
She's gonna be.
Bracken's going right in for the hair pulling. He said.
I'm usually complimentary of her, and today I said I'd fight her to take her down a peg, and she can't win an ultra.
Just applying chips.
Which means she's going to win every ultra this year.
Katie didn't just win, though. Katie smashed, right? So there's a big gap to make up. What do you think?
And she did it aggressively.
But Chris will go with her.
Chris
ain't letting nobody go.
They will be the reason one of those two crumbles because they're going to go. I can't wait to see it.
Is that ever how these races work, though? Is like people go with each other?
Gaudette and Bierman did.
Gaudette and Bierman.
But they didn't. That wasn't like a race. It never actually was a race. They were just like out there hanging out. You know, where people
company leads to better performances.
Yeah, like I don't know. That's why these races are strange to me. It's like, what's actually happening? It's like you do something, like you see what's happening in the beginning. You go do a full work day of stuff. You come back and something else is completely changed. And the race is like the opposite of what you saw earlier. So it's hard to even know how these things are going to play out.
Where are we seeing this stuff? How are we accessing this media-wise?
Matt's not doing a live stream, but I know Matt will be present there, probably doing stories and occasional.
Will Hicks,
like
OCR report is going to be
trackers.
on site.
OCR report will? Okay.
They'll be on site. They're not going to have a standard live stream the entire time. I don't think they're going to have constant updates. I could be wrong about that, but they will have people on site for sure.
You on the microphone?
No, they're doing all live and local.
And the tracker that they've had has been pretty impressive in the past.
Yes.
But now that it's Spartan, who knows? Even though, Bracken, you were complimentary of Spartan's.
Yeah, remember how much we shat on them for their new timing system the first time it didn't work? And then now it's really good.
Yeah, so maybe it's the same deal.
I just wish they had more Matts to give more data. But that's
like more Matthew Davises.
Just more people to fight.
Yeah.
The more Matt B. Davis is, the more fights there'll be.
Yeah.
Jack, have you ever been in a fight in your life?
Like an actual
fight?
Fist fight or brawl?
Out of haste and anger.
What's your
or
definition?
defense.
Like back in high school, couple times, like one of my teammates who I didn't like too much, he like smacked me in the back of the head, and we definitely got into it, and he ended up.
What does definitely got into?
Did you punch him in the face, or did he punch you in the face?
Well, I was finishing the story. So anyway, he basically came up to me, hit me in the back of the head, thought it was funny, and then I pushed him. Like I caught up to him 30 seconds later, pushed him into like some bushes in the snow, and then I thought that was pretty funny. And then he came up behind me, tried to like slam me from behind into the ground, but I like didn't fall over, and I had him on my back, and we were just wrestling for 15-20 seconds, and then eventually I just like threw him off of me, and he hit his head on the concrete, and then ended up getting a concussion.
You almost murdered
and then
somebody.
we had to like
Jeez.
Yeah, we had to like drag him out of the street because like some cars and a school bus was coming, and basically he was just like wobbling the last half mile back to school. And then the next morning because a lot of people didn't like this kid. And next morning I got to school, and my locker was like the complete opposite end of the hall. Had to walk like 1,000 feet or something. I probably had 50 people come up to me. They're like, "We're so glad you beat the shit out of Ben. Like, oh man, I heard you whooped him." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know how rumors start, but
hallway.
I'll take it." In high school.
That's extraordinary.
Yeah,
that's what I took out of this story.
Manchester Central.
School. Yeah, that's
big hallways.
That's the just like a few wrestling, but not like a punch try to truly injure the other person.
Okay, so Jackson, no.
I've been punched 4 times, and yet I've never thrown one myself.
Did the Bachelor stuff put like a target on you if you're like out and about, people talking shit?
Oh yeah, that happened. Oh yeah.
I bet.
Yeah. One time I was hanging out with some chicks after The Bachelor. Apparently it was some guy's ex-girlfriend. He showed up. We were at somebody's apartment, and I was real drunk. And he just walked in, and I turned around, and I got it square in between the eyes, and I just landed on the floor. And all the next thing I know, I woke up the next morning with a puffy face and blood down it, and I don't even remember.
What? Just because like you were there? You're a dude in this place.
Well, I think it was like me and her were probably hitting it off sort of thing, and it was wrong place, wrong time. So I ended up on the floor real good once. It was bad. I couldn't breathe out of my nose for like a week.
All right, how about similar fight topic? If there's one person who you think wants to fight you in OCR, who would it be?
Dave Watson.
You think he wants to?
This whole podcast, we've done nothing but trash Spartan for like 3.5 weeks. I tried giving them a compliment about their timing system, but that was the best I could come up with.
Only 3.5 weeks. I feel like it's been at least 4 months since we started. You think he'd be a good one to fight? That'd be
no, I
sad.
don't want to fight him. I'm just saying, I think he has an issue with our podcast, probably.
Yeah, he wants to shoot the fair one.
Who hates you, Rich?
Apparently, like Ryland didn't like that. I think he wouldn't go sub 60. So we're gonna fight in Deca. We're gonna, as soon as the gun goes off, I'm not even gonna race. I'm just gonna fight him.
You should just clothesline him when they do call ups. Just start it right there.
He'll get called up before me, so I have to bum rush him as I'm getting called up.
Okay, yeah.
Rich, you strike me as a lot of drunken brawls in college.
Not in college as much, like college, post college, some, and just like the area where I went to college, like in Philadelphia, people just want to fucking fight you. Like that's been a great part about being in Denver. It's like I feel like people want to fight me way less out here, and that's great. But in Philly, like felt like people wanted to fight me a lot that I didn't know anybody. So it would be stuff like that. Like a lot of shit talking, getting punched, throwing punches, but not ever like kind of really.
So you and Ryland, I like it.
We're fighting.
For me, it's every chicken breast and hamburger eating Karen and Nancy out there who doesn't like that I go get it myself. They want to fight me. That's who. Nobody in the sport.
The anti-hunters.
The people who
the
love
anti-hunters the people who love animals but eat them, but then crucify me for doing the same on my
Why do you hate animals?
Record. It's terrible. But anyways, those people. But it wouldn't be a fair fight. Like these are like, not the type. So.
No, that wouldn't be very fun.
No, it would be sad. That would be sad again. Yep.
Jack, you?
Jack?
I kind of had a falling out with Michael Mark. he doesn't like me too much. You remember him?
I think a lot of people did.
Yeah. So he glad he's not around anymore, but he didn't end too well.
All of us took ours whimsically, and you talked about a time where you hoped statute of limitations expired because you almost got a kid murdered by a school bus, and then you talked about
that was
a real falling out you had with someone in the industry.
Yeah, I wasn't here for the whole podcast to get the context.
No, we were all. I don't think any of us gave a real answer, but you dumped your purse out.
The honesty is great, Jack. We appreciate you for
honesty pays off. And speaking of honesty, I just pulled up Google Maps in the background, measured the length of my high school, approximately the length of the building, and it was 859 feet. So it wasn't 1,000. It was a pretty long hallway.
So you were wrong.
I was, but I'm not. I was pretty accurate. It was a very.
So
long
when you
hallway.
give a distance, a length, let's say, it's about 20% longer than it really is.
How about you when you're pooping on the homeless guy's store? You were approximately twice off. You had a 50% margin of error right there.
I mean, margins of error with poop is relative.
I'm well aware that needs to be, very, very precise at that point. But
that's probably the guy who would fight me.
We're off the rails.
We
received.
Sorry for
we received a
off.
review, Kirk and I, this week that said their favorite part is when we go off the rails on tangents.
Did you guys ask for reviews? Because you guys have been blowing up on that.
You were watching our reviews?
So I have this thing called Chartable.
He doesn't listen, but he gets the reviews.
Yeah, I get Chartable too. Yeah.
Yeah. So it kind of it'll show. Yeah, I'm just like on Apple Podcasts.
We're gonna start asking people to leave reviews that mention you.
See how well these. They are.
We did a 3 t-shirt giveaway for reviews. We basically slut ourselves out, but it was worth it. We got a lot of nice ones. It's fantastic.
But like the thing with reviews, I think it looks good if people are looking to subscribe to your podcast. Like, oh, this thing has 600 or 700 reviews or whatever for that perspective. But in terms of the charts, the shit doesn't matter at all.
I think it's downloads.
We're not for the charts. We're for the people.
The charts are down new downloads, new subscribers.
Okay,
is what changes it. That's why we were number 1 on Race Brain when we first came out. It's
for a reason.
We had 0, and then all of a sudden we had however many new subscribers. But that's why you can kind of just plateau and sit when things aren't growing.
Good to know.
Yeah, it's all stupid.
Did you guys already pick your, who you think is going to win WTM?
No.
Did you go to high school on a cruise ship? Is that why it was like? How do you get 1,000-meter hallway? I just don't get it.
Not meter, feet.
So who's gonna win?
Feet cracking.
1,000 feet.
I don't use Imperial.
My high school is roughly that long as well, in case anybody's wondering. They're long and narrow.
I'm sure mine was really the same. I don't know.
Mine was short and stout.
Never thought about it. I'm picking Mark Goddett. Damn it. Someone run with him at night. I dare you. You think he's going to get out of sorts because of the wet? No. But the dark, the cold, he says bring it. He's not going to play around. Mark Goddett.
I think that him having experience being wet in a 24-hour race is a lot different than Tyler and his only 24-hour race being Telluride where you weren't getting wet. I think that's going to pay off. Mark is the reigning champ for a reason. I'm going Mark also.
He's not the reigning champ of World's Toughest.
Okay, the reigning OCR 24-hour major race champion. That's
not a title.
I know.
And then I'm going Chris on the women's.
Feels icky to pick, I think, between a few people, but let's just go. Let's keep Tyler Veerman's ball rolling, huh?
All right.
Give me Ultra House.
You're going
for
Anthony
the podium?
Kunkel?
I'm taking Ultra House. Singular.
Josh, DJ, and Anthony, 1, 2, 3 in some order.
No, I'm taking, them. One of those 3 wins it.
That's not how it works.
That's not how it works. Yeah.
Listen, that's how I'm choosing.
If there's
how about if you had to prioritize
DJ Fox?
Yeah. All right.
Give me the people's champ. And I throw Kunkel into there to be the most interesting stick in the spokes that we've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. We've seen athletes on the women's end, like Aaron Ross is an example, who came out of nowhere and found the podium. And she's done it 3 times, I think. 3 times, I think she ended up second
at least
or on
twice.
The podium. Yeah, and she was 3rd last year.
Yeah.
So like she came up out of nowhere and then circled this again on the calendar, came out and did it again. So DJ could be that.
I think they put 2 in the top 5 minimum.
I think
Ultra House. Because Reading
I would
could
think
win or go 2 or 3 or 4.
Chris
I think
Mendoza
Josh
he'll be in podium contention at the end like he always does. Same as Trevor. Like, I don't think that they'll end up getting 2 in the top 5.
Oh, let's do a side bet. I put Ultra House 2 in the top 5.
1
in the top 5. That's a good bet.
Well, I know you're taking not 2, but I'm curious more about what you would bet. Jack.
Not real money. I haven't paid enough attention to get the numbers.
You'd probably still get plus. You definitely get plus odds on that, but I don't think you get a ton of action.
No, I'm looking to put an actual wager, non-money wise, with you, Jack Bauer.
I'm not
I feel
doing
like I'm
it.
getting you on a very compromised day. You're a little out of sorts.
Way out of sorts.
Yeah, so that's why I'm sticking with my guns and not making a bet.
I'm going 0.
0 in the 5.
I like it.
Josh Reedinger not going to hold up.
They're all going to get
I'm
detained at
pissed.
the airport.
Kunkel's going to get cold at about 8 p.m. his little frame, and he's just going to shiver out. And then
That's the thing with Anthony. Right? We talked about this a little bit last episode. Like his ultra prowess is on road.
Yeah,
right,
Like
so
where he's
then-
excelled more than anybody, or he's excelled at he's an American champ, I think 2-time. So he's like
100K.
really, really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
a couple of shoulders
road.
dislocated out of Reed, and then Fox going out hard and dying home is inspired, and then suddenly 0. And I don't know if I mean this at all, but let's put some receipts out there, huh?
Rich,
Okay.
how many?
the top 5, 2.
2. Okay. Anthony and
I
Josh.
think- no, I think Josh and DJ.
All right. Because DJ rhymes with VJ.
That's not why.
Okay.
Interesting take.
More because he got third last year.
If VJ was in this race, how would he do?
4.
DNS.
Yeah.
He'd win the hot lap. I think he could win the hot lap.
You'd
Mhm.
probably smash that hot lap.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, Mendoza's one to think about for sure. Former
Psycho.
champ. Trevor Psycho's former champ.
I
Let's
thought
see
I
how
saw
many.
Austin Azar but
I
I don't know. I
Chris is
didn't
gonna be
look. I
there.
thought that he mentioned he was doing WTM, which would be crazy because he's got 100 or 105 before.
Oh, has he?
He's got 100 for sure. Yeah.
He got passed on the last lap by Chris Mendoza, I thought, that year.
What?
Yeah, he was like a gun. He was gonna win, and then something happened on the last lap, and
Well,
He led for like 23 hours.
Trevor.
No, Austin Azar.
No. The year Chris Mendoza won?
You've got 3 of us agreeing on it, Rich.
He's got a jacket.
Rich is only hybrid. You got to remember that.
That's true.
Oh, we're talking about.
Rich is hybrid and bar fights. That's it.
Yeah, we're talking about toughest mudder. I didn't never. Yeah, never mind. I don't know. I thought for sure he passed Trevor though, but I'm willing to say no.
And I really hope Callie does well.
I think
She
she'll
will.
make the podium.
What's
She's
the
I
order?
think so.
Her times in ultra event, like in Kelowna and I think Utah, she had her ratio versus the men's winner. She's holding her own. She's really
Yeah.
impressed me.
This is just the farthest from any course she's done this year.
Yeah.
Maybe in years. That's the only unknown with her is she's never done anything similar to this format.
She likes
Yes.
being cold. That's all that matters.
Exactly. Yeah.
Chris Mendoza's won 1 year, right?
That sounds right.
Okay, so Mendoza, the lead was held by Mendoza or Trevor Psychos for most of the 24-hour race, and Mendoza passed Psychos with less than a mile to go. Suck it. That was a Jack move right there. It's like, you think I'm wrong?
Hey,
I'll
all right.
show you. And then Jesse Bruce got third that year.
Over
Oh, yeah,
Austin.
sleeper.
I swear Austin had a.
Google the same thing that I just Googled and tell me what you
Okay.
came up with.
I'm looking at 2016 results. Austin
2018.
Azar, second place, 22 hours, 43 minutes, 100 miles. Chris Mendoza, 24:45 for 100 miles. Trevor Psychos, 105. He won that year in 24 flat. So Austin had a faster rate. He just couldn't hang on for the last lap.
So he was passed by Trevor, not
Trevor,
Mendoza,
not Chris.
but still got 100 and took second.
Yes.
So you guys were wrong, and I was correct.
All I said was that he got 100 miles.
Yeah.
I didn't discard
second
it. I didn't disregard it.
All right. And that Rylan would absolutely work you.
Son, are you serious?
Has he not worked anything this year?
I think that he would win in a fight because of how well he did at Trifecta World Championships.
All right.
That's
let's say after DecaFit World Championships, Ryan Kent, Rylan Shadag, they've got 29 minutes. As soon as it hits 29 minutes, you've got to step in a ring, fight each other. Who's gonna win? They've got like barely any rest.
Ryan Kent.
I'd fight them both. I'm gonna fight Kent too when I see him. Can't wait.
What if you threw us all in a ring, us four? It'd be
yeah.
Watch this shakeout.
Now we're
That would be
talking.
fun.
That would be interesting.
That'd be a good fun.
That'd be a worthwhile watch. That would.
Yeah.
We'll get OCR Report to stream it.
It'd be like the Race Pain podcast. That would.
Ooh, he's full of them.
I think that's a great place to end it. It's close to lunchtime. Jack fucking crushed a joke. So Jack, thanks for joining us today. Next week we're going to talk about probably world's toughest. And we got some Deca to lead into. We'll just talk about some other stuff. Boys, this was fun. Running Public, what do we got this week?
What do we have? Did our episode release yet already today, Bracken?
Nope.
Why it's okay to run on the treadmill in the winter. Don't feel like a wuss when you choose the treadmill. We give people a reason why to choose the treadmill in the winter. And then we got an age group athlete interview for Friday. People have been asking for age group athletes, and we're interviewing one of mine. So
we couldn't get a hold of Jack.
Yeah.
Zingers.
We're making this fight go down. Bracken, you can meet me in Atlantic City, and we'll settle this. Except you won't.
Yeah,
be
right.
there.
We were wrestling around and getting needles stuck in us in Atlantic City.
Yeah,
can't fight there.
What about you, Rich?
Ian Hosick, former Race Brain podcast guest, is also a Reinforced Running podcast.
Did you ask him what he's been doing for the last year, because he's gone dark? I want to know.
He's just been like, I just didn't feel like it.
Oh,
that's
good for him.
Like,
well, social media too. He hasn't updated people, so I was curious.
He's just like, I'm not excited about racing, so I haven't been doing it. Yeah, good stuff. Talked about off-season stuff and just general coaching, OCR type of thing. Gonna get a hybrid athlete on this week. Hasn't happened, but it will be in the hybrid DecaFit area. So
when you get Meg Jacoby on there,
at some point, she's probably getting calls from ORM and all those people.
We're second wave type podcasts. We're not the news breakers.
We're not bringing it. We're not bringing them. Yeah.
We're not bringing it. We're breaking it down.
We're breaking it down.
Exactly.
That's right.
100%. 100%.
Gents, I'm going to eat.
Great job.
Please.
See ya.
Bye.
See ya.